Hello and welcome to the InGear Motorsport live stream. You join us tonight for our special event at the Paul Ricard circuit. It's our second endurance event. The last one went down a storm with all sorts of action and chaos right up until the end. I'm Mackenzie, this is Charlotte, she's back once again. I've roped her in for another one. How are you looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's been, a few weeks now since the end of the championship, so I think it's the right time to come back and get some racing again on a Tuesday evening, and an endurance race I think is a good way to kind of wake people up again.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot of focus. So the guys are going to have their work cut out for them tonight. As have we, because we've got a lot to get through in the next 30 minutes. We've got a build-up show for you all to watch,
Yeah.
So do comment, say hi on the chat. I know a couple of people are watching already, and we'll answer them as we go. If you're new to this, it will all become clear as we get going. But let's take a little look at what's coming up in the next 30 minutes. So we've got 3 key features for you. And the first of which is going to be taking you through a track guide. So the Paul Ricard circuit is an extremely demanding one, so I'm going to be taking you through that so you've got a bit of an idea what to expect from it, what the drivers are going to be dealing with, because there's all sorts of different challenges out there, particularly track limits, but we'll get to that at the time going through the track guide. I also caught up with our friend Chrissy Palmer earlier in the week, who sadly is not going to be able to race with us tonight, which is a real shame after some PC issues. But we did do an interview with him, and if you've been following along with our live streams, then you would have seen Chrissy has been racing with us for a little while now. And then by 7:30, we'll be heading into qualifying, which is 15 minutes long. And then moving on from that, it'll be heading off into a 90-minute race. But we don't have much time to delay, so I want to make sure everyone's got a good chance to look at the circuit, because Paul Ricard is a fantastic track, really, really pretty. So let's get ready to show you the track guide and take you through what to expect from tonight's action. Paul Ricard is a very fast and very demanding circuit, and one thing you're going to have to really keep an eye on here is track limits. It's very easy to run too wide off the track, and you can only do that so many times before you get a penalty. So the drivers in our series, different series do it differently, but for us it's 3 warnings, and then on the 4th strike you get a penalty, which is a drive-through penalty by default. We can change it, but generally it's a drive-through penalty, which of course can be race ending. So that's going to be very easy to do, particularly in longer races. So it's really important that the drivers don't make too many mistakes and run wide. It's not so bad if you run wide and don't gain time, but the game will know if you go too fast from running off the track and you gain time, you go faster, then yeah, you get these warnings and you get penalties. So that's one thing to be very, very careful of at this circuit, just by the nature of how it works. The track itself is located in Marseille in France, and in fact it's just a 3-hour drive across from Monaco. For anyone that's watching from Monaco, so there you go, you can pop to Paul Ricard in no time at all. And really cool track, really fast track, like I say. It's got one of the longest straights of any circuit on the calendar actually. The Mistral straight is 1 mile long just in itself. But the total lap is 5.8 kilometres, and you've got 15 corners. So it's quite fast, but there is a mix of some slower corners in there, mostly medium speed or high speed though. And a really good one for racing. That straight gives a good opportunity for slipstreaming and keeping the racing nice and tight and close, which we've seen in the past. Another interesting fact about this circuit is that it's one of the few tracks in the world that can be artificially watered. So it's got sprinklers located around the place, and they can turn that on and actually make it simulate wet conditions anytime they like. So quite an interesting one. Of course, we're in a game, so we can make it wet if we want anyway, but it's looking quite dry so far. And let's take a look at a flying lap. So we're running on board then with Chrissy Palmer across the start-finish line at the moment, heading into turn 1, which is a fairly fast chicane, and it's straight away one of the corners where you can exceed track limits if you're not careful. So you'll see on the inside you've got these little yellow marker cones, and if the drivers hit those, that's a good way for the officials in the real world to know that they've gone over the track limits. There's also sensors around, which we'll take a look at in a moment, but nice and clean and tidy so far. This was Chrissy's fastest lap in qualifying on one of our practice races recently. Then into turns 3, 4 and 5, nice little complex twisty section. You can't run too wide out of there, so you need to not go too fast into that chicane so you can get a good run into this hairpin. The most important section of the track now, because it opens up into the longest straight on the whole circuit as we go then onto the Mistral straight through this fast left-hander. Use a bit of runoff, but you don't actually want to use too much because it can zap speed out of the tyres. So the AstroTurf that you see on the outside, that can actually slow the car down if you use too much of it. So use a bit of runoff, but not too much. And of course we have to be all focusing on those track limits at all times. So as you can see, really, really long straight. The car will be maxing out at about 172, 173 miles per hour here. And of course you've got all that downforce on trying to drag it back as well. So real sort of serious speeds into a fast right-hander, down one gear into fifth. Again, don't run too wide on the exit. And then we've got a right-hander that just keeps tightening up and tightening up and tightening up. And you kind of got to slow the car down. If you brake too much, then you will lock up because the car is loaded up onto the left-hand side whilst you turn right. Then we go straight into another left-hand corner. And again, we can't push too hard in because we immediately need to turn right on the way out. So we've got to make sure that we're focusing on our exit speeds as we come out of these corners. You've got to really focus on slower in, faster out. And then we start to round off the lap. We've got a medium speed left-hander here. Again, it just keeps on going. Use a bit of curb. It kind of drags you round. It hooks into the ridge of the curb a little bit. Then we come out the exit, out the last hairpin, back onto the start-finish straight, and then we finish off our lap of the Paul Ricard circuit. Next up then, using the free camera in the game, I can actually fly around and show you different parts of it, and we can just take a look at some of these corners in a little bit more detail. But you can just see from this nice zoomed out view the level of detail that goes in the game. There's actually driving experience centres, there's an off-road course, there's karting circuits, so you can see kind of some of that dotted around on the screen as I zoomed right out like this. So of course they don't make everything in crystal clear detail once you get further out, but from the driver's perspective, there's so much detail in this game, and some of it you wouldn't otherwise see. So you can see some of the extra areas on the track. Just to note as well, all these colourful blue and red lines and sometimes white lines that are around the edge of the track, it looks really nice and pretty, but that's actually designed to be a really abrasive surface that helps slow the cars down if they run off the track. So also serves a functional purpose as well as looking nice. So lots of really high-tech features at this track. It is a really, really cool place, and does play host to some fantastic races, including Formula 1 now as well. So anyway, let's go over the start-finish line and take a look at turn 1. So we come up the start-finish straight, and it's that chicane that we looked at. You want to be using all the sort of space you have on the outside here. A lot of this track is about, one, getting good exit speed and not compromising your exit speed by trying to attack too hard on the way in. But two, using all the width available to you, which is why it's so easy to go over track limits, because you have got to run right up to the edges. So there's the little sort of fluorescent yellowy green cone that I was talking about. If the drivers hit those, then that means that they get a warning or a penalty if they've done it too many times. You can see it's slightly uphill as you then go through this right. Same thing again, you can't cut too much of the curb as much as you really want to, otherwise you get a penalty, and then it drops away slightly downhill. So one of the reasons it makes it so hard is you really want to cut that curb, but you can't, because where the track drops away, the car then sort of goes a little bit light, and then you have less grip ultimately, where you're just going downhill slightly and you slide out onto these. And these also, if you touch these yellow bumps, then again the game gives you a penalty. And the track even has these little sensors in the ground that if a car hits them, then they get a penalty. So you can see there's a bit of a theme forming here already. But over the course of a longer race, it's so critical that drivers don't pick up penalties and just give away time. You lose 25-30 seconds doing a drive-through penalty easily. Okay, so into turns 2, 3, 4 then, or 3, 4 and 5. You then have the same again, and this curb, you'll notice there's just a little drop from the first part of it to the second part. So you see it's flatter on the inside. So actually what you tend to try and do, you can see some of the lines, the black lines of tyres do this. They cut across onto this flatter surface, and it does hook you in. It's like hooking into a ridge. So the car kind of gets hooked up and dragged round, which is quite a useful thing to use to your advantage. Same goes for turn 2, but you can't go any more than just the beginning of that flat surface where that drain cover is, because again, if you touch that yellow bump, that's a penalty. So you've got to make sure you're working right within these limits. This is where I said you want to make sure you get the car back over to this left-hand side so you can get a good run into the right-hand hairpin. And this then starts to take us all the way up now. We're preparing for that long Mistral straight. Similar again, use the inside of the curb, just enough to drag you around. Don't turn in too early so that you can get a good exit out of this corner. Again, just that little bit of compromise on the way in so you can get the power down sooner on the way out. This is a flat out left-hand corner. You want to be as smooth as possible. Don't scrub too much speed off the car. And as I was saying, this sort of extra astroturfed area can slow the car down. So you want to make sure you get back onto the tarmac as quickly as possible. Luckily for us, look, we can speed right up. You can see other bits of circuit there. There's actually well over 100 different configurations of this track that they could run. So that's why you see different bits, whether it's a MotoGP race or different types of car racing. They can just adjust the track a little bit to suit. Then we come in then at 170 plus miles per hour at the end of this mile-long straight into a fast right-hander. And once again, track limits play their part. You can't go too tight to the inside because look, there's one of those sensors and cones again. And you can't go too wide on the exit because once again there are sensors that will give you penalties. So you've got to work in the confines of that. Make sure you keep it nice and smooth. You want to get your braking done in a straight line beforehand. It's not much of a brake, but just enough, and just by dabbing the brake down a gear, it puts a bit more weight on the nose of the car and helps the front wheels grip when you turn in. And that might mean you're going to have to fight a bit of understeer mid-corner, and you can fix that by just squeezing the power back on gently. Coming then into the next corner, it's that long right-hander that just tightens up, tightens up, tightens up. And it puts a lot of load on the front left. And this is where, you know, having a setup that helps you is really important. And also, you know, your pressures have to be right. You could very easily start cooking tyres because they're getting put under such load. You've got that fast right-hander, then this long right-hander here. So it's really key that you get the pressures right on circuits like this, particularly if it's hot. So once again, coming back in, you can see where the black marks on the circuit kind of cut across these curbs. So you're trying to get a nice clean exit here. You don't actually need to run all the way out to the outside here because your main objective is to get the car back over to the right hand side, ready for this next left hand corner. Very easy again to try and turn in too early. You'll notice we're kind of out here quite late and you think, well, okay, the corner's over there, why are we out here? But it's because we want to get a late apex, cut back, and then that way you can see already now, if I was a car right now where I'm positioned, I've got a much straighter exit. Whereas if I tried to turn in early, naturally, as I go underground, naturally we'd end up a bit more sort of out here, trying to cut back, and then suddenly we're here, and we need to get all the way back over here to get a straight run here. So late apex is key. So we're starting to round the lap off now. Long, fast right-hander, that's a flat out corner. This is a very fast corner as well, and it's another one that you can attack too hard and then sacrifice exit if you're not careful, but not as critical as some of the other circuits of corners on this lap. Then we go through our fast left, and we need to get the car stopped for the hairpin. So we're more worried once again about not being over here because we want to get the car ready over to the left. So we have to sacrifice a bit of speed on the left-hander to get over to the left-hand side of the track on the exit. That's far better because we then get a much neater line through this hairpin. Once again, one of these little cones that we can't hit, but we get a much straighter exit, and the straight exit means we can get the power down sooner, and if we can get the power down sooner, of course we will carry more speed the whole way up this straight. So that little bit of sacrifice on the way in just really helps you benefit the entire way of the straight on the way out. So there you have it, we've completed our lap. You can see it's a fantastic looking circuit, really, really pretty, and that will be the driver's challenge for our next race at Paul Ricard.
Don't know who that bloke was. He does go on a little bit.
Well, you know, try living with him.
I don't know how anyone would live with him, yeah.
I forgot to ask how you're doing, by the way. How's everything been on the build up to this? Sorry.
I don't know if we have time for that.
How has the build up been? I've been a bit quiet in Discord over the last couple of weeks and stuff. So
yeah, it's been good. We've done a couple of good practice races. I had to go with the guys last week when we done a practice race for this, just to get a few people in that wanted to do it. The longer races, it's always worth doing a bit more time if you can. So yeah, I'm all right. I'm good. Enjoyed that. I still didn't quite manage to go as fast as Dom Stallman, but I had a good scrap with Chrissy, and in fact Danny Price was looking very fast. We had a good little battle. Nice. So and all in all, yeah, work's busy, but we're all good, so I'm having a good time, and I'm pleased to be doing this again after a few weeks break. Been really looking forward to it, so it's good to be back. Before we jump into the next feature, oh thank you, yeah. She lies. She sees me anyway all the time. She's happy to get rid of me when she can. I've got a chat window over here, and I can see when people all message through, so please do say hello. Before we do go any further, hello Paulina, welcome back. Thanks for being loyal and sticking with us and listening to us natter away, and hopefully we'll have some good races tonight. Danny's looking good. Danny Price, that is, so that should be quite cool to see. And no, John again. I'm not sure what happened to John. John was meant to be racing tonight.
Yeah, he's like, I'm expecting big things when he comes into this because there's been so much build up to him coming in, and he's just doesn't show up at the moment. But
and I know some of the drivers are literally just joining now, so it's going to be interesting when we actually get to qualifying, because some of them have literally done no practice tonight, but they have practice in the week. Anyway, as mentioned, I always like to try and keep us as on schedule as possible, and we're about on time to go and have a look at the interview I had with Chrissy Palmer earlier in the week, who is one of the drivers that races with us quite regularly. But what's quite cool is Chrissy also races in the real world, and Charlotte and I have known him for quite a long time. And so he kind of has that unique angle where we can discuss real world racing versus sim racing, which we touch on a little bit in our interview. So hopefully that's something that you guys will find interesting to watch, and we'll get ready and play that for you now.
So I'm just coming into Brooklands in Surrey. There's actually some of the old Brooklands racetrack alongside me, but I'm just about to pick Chrissy up. He's just finished a day working at Mercedes-Benz World, so hopefully he's not too tired to talk to us. But yeah, pick him up, see what he has to say. Here he is.
Hello mate, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good to see you. Oh,
Good stuff.
nice to have finished as well.
Yeah, how's your day?
Yeah, not bad. It's nice being in a car, so I'm happy.
Yeah, it's obviously a really cool place. I've mentioned it a couple of times on our live streams, but I guess some people watching probably won't have a clue what we're on about with Mercedes-Benz World. So let's start with that. Like, what does a day at MB World sort of consist of for you?
Lots of going fast and lots of meeting new people, which is lovely, especially after all the time we've had off not doing anything really.
Yeah.
But it's a great place to be, and get to come out and test drive AMGs all day, C63s and E63s, which is obviously, don't forget the GTs.
Of course, yeah.
Which is
actually had some fun in the GTR Pro just the other day. It's such a cool car, isn't it?
Oh, of course, you were here filming, weren't you?
Yes, yeah, we were doing some stuff, so it's all good fun. So yeah, obviously a big part of it though is sat in the passenger seat. What's that side of it like? Why are you in the passenger seat?
Well, I mean, it's still not too bad. I still don't do much complaining, but obviously I'd rather be in the right hand side of the car. But getting to teach owners that have just bought their new AMGs things about their cars is great fun, and showing them the safety systems is also cool, but then getting to show them how it drifts as well is the best bit.
Yeah, and there's a purpose-built like skid pan and stuff there, so it is like a car's playground, I always call it.
That's a good way of putting it, actually.
So, I mean, I've known you for quite a few years now. I was trying to think back to when it actually first was, but it was probably when we did that ACE program, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually, I'd forgotten about that bit. Not forgotten about it, but yeah, I was thinking back. No, go-karting, Jicka. You were in Jicka.
Was we in Jicka at the same time?
I wasn't in Jicka, I was in ICA, but I think you were in Jicka. So I think we probably knew each other then.
Yeah, we're definitely around karting paddocks at the same time. Definitely. That's the thing with motorsport, isn't it? In the real world, anyway, you kind of sort of see the same people throughout for years, which is really cool. I love it. But yeah, so like the ACE program is, for people watching, is like a advanced apprenticeship sporting excellence. I think it was. It was like motorsport college, is the way I always describe it. So that was always a fun time, wasn't it?
It was definitely interesting. I can't remember how long I lasted in it, but
yeah, imagine a load of racing drivers at college, and then you've kind of got probably a good idea. It's just absolute carnage, and the drives home as well.
I think they were probably the best bits, weren't they?
Crash while we're out on the road. That's always good. It was always pretty much a race afterwards. I remember coming out of Silverstone after a day there. That was like, it was like a rally to the...
With our helmets on.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, it was embarrassing, but so much fun.
Yeah, no, the stuff you get up to. Cool, so obviously, yeah, motorsport background, and that's where we know each other. What are you up to at the moment then? Because you're one of the few drivers that are doing our live streams and stuff that have raced in the real world as well. So yeah, what are you up to at the moment?
So currently in the Mazda MX-5 in the 2020 version for next year. We're just getting the car ready for the Cup, so that there's a one-make series for it, which will be loads of fun. because the cars are amazing, and loads of them out there together will be even better. Obviously missing the rallycross, just because I like going sideways.
Yeah, for people watching, Chrissy is like a drift king. He loves it.
I can't get enough of smoke and sideways, to be honest. But there's still a bit of that in the Mazdas. When it rains, it's great at going sideways. So still having loads of fun.
Although of course not as fast going sideways, but
yeah, there is definitely that side to it.
Did you do Silverstone the other week in GT4? Can't remember, for our racing. Was you on at Silverstone?
I can't remember. I don't think I did Silverstone.
No, Monza was the last one.
Yes,
you did, right?
it was. Yeah, Monza was the last one.
Yeah, because we had this almighty weather at Silverstone, and
no,
was
I did one race.
everywhere.
I did do one race.
One race
at Silverstone.
You were done.
Yeah, and that was it. I hadn't spent enough time setting my car up. Didn't realise quite how important the setup was. I must have lucked into it on the first couple of races.
Yeah, and obviously Monza was really good as well. So yeah, coming to the racing side of it then, what sort of stuff are you doing online? So we've touched on the real world. What sort of one? Because I know you're actually streaming quite a bit as well yourself. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so started off with the with iRacing, which is obviously great platform. But to be honest, I've mainly been sticking to the Assetto after jumping on it with you guys.
Yeah,
I just find the physics in it are amazing. So
cool.
So much. I shouldn't say so much. Very close to real.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we were having the chat the other night, we're not sure if the setups are a little bit too critical.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because I do find that the right setup can be like a second sometimes, you know, on some tracks.
Yes, well, funny you should say that. I think I found 9/10 last night, and all I did was change 0.2 camber, and that's nothing.
Yeah, it's great. That is crazy. I mean, you'd expect a change, of course, but yeah, that is 9/10. I mean, we were fairly close on pace the other night, so you've now completely just driven away from my lap times, which is really annoying.
Well,
we have to get back on.
We can keep sharing our setups.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll be all right. We'll both be on par.
I'll have to rob that off you again.
Doesn't take long. Don't worry about that. I've still got some more stuff to do to it anyway. I'm not completely happy. I want to be doing I want mid 54s before I'm happy.
And of course, that's what we've seen from our German friend Stallman.
Yeah, I will not give up. I'm not saying I'll get there, but I'm saying I won't give up until at least I've tried my hardest to get there.
And what are your sort of expectations of the race at Paul Ricard then?
I always go for the win. Whether it happens or not is a different story. But I never go there not expecting to go for the win. So I'll still be going for a win. I mean, I'd like to think a podium's on offer. But yeah, whether it happens or not is definitely a different story. And I guess Tuesday will tell.
And I think that the real curveball as well is we get like a random pubber join in who can be lightning fast. Like it happened a little bit the other night on our test race, although he actually left in the end, but he actually broke away. I think you were then running third at the time.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if he may have hindered my performance at one point with my spoiler, but he was flying, and there was no way I was going to keep up with him anyway. Even with the little bit of contact we had, I was never going to keep up with him, which is why I've been working to try and get the setup a little bit better, shall we say. I really like the setup as it is, but trying to get a bit more speed out of it is the next bit.
Yeah, so what sort of stuff do you look for? Because I mean, for me, like, I really struggle with the setup side of it. So for me, I'll maybe have a little look at lowering the ride height at one end or the other to give me a bit more grip front or back, or pressures is a big thing. But yeah, tell me like your process.
So that's pretty much how I do it. The only thing is, from real life to this, I've changed a few things. So for instance, cool, that looks tight.
Yeah. Thanks for this. We're actually following George, and he's you're gonna have to tell me if I get through it or not.
There's a bit of room on my side. That's so tight.
Oh my god, that was class.
So anyway,
he flashed his lights to say sorry. There you go, everyone. That was a nice little test of my real world driving ability there, trying to fit the car through a tiniest gap, a width restriction. Sorry, right, where was we?
I can't even remember, to be honest.
So setup process. Yeah, where do we go on setup process?
So I do pretty similar to what you said. I've just changed it slightly with the sim. So I do the ride height, but then while I'm doing the ride height with Assetto, it's got that nice little percentage bit at the bottom that tells you about the aero.
Yes,
and I noticed
really
that literally 1 mil was making 0.1% difference straight away. So I've actually started using the ride height instead of doing it for my grip levels, front to back balance. I'm doing it more for top end. So I found 3 mile an hour by raising it by 2 mil, just on the front.
That's nuts, isn't it?
So I went from 174 to 177 down the back straight.
And I think if somebody's watching that maybe doesn't deal with car setups or racing, you know, 1 or 2 mil, 3 miles an hour, it doesn't sound like big numbers. But I mean, how important is that really actually when you put it into perspective racing?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the lap it was 9 tenths, so that was back to back as well. Same fuel load, same tyre pressures, pretty much the same track, everything, because it had only been 1 session apart.
Of course, you times that over a 90-minute race. You know, we're probably about 45 laps in that sort of time frame, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's 45 seconds over a race distance nearly, which is, you know, that could be the difference between first and 8th very easily. Cool. And then, so the other thing I really wanted to like get your opinion on was the comparison. And again, sort of one of the few people that can do this. The comparison for racing in a simulator game versus the real world. Like, what? Well, yeah. How do you find it? What's the key differences for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question actually.
Put you on the spot.
Yes. So to be honest, I take most things I find are similar in one way or another. Whether they're exactly the same or whether you have to learn a new feeling for that same feeling is different. Like when it's about to oversteer, instead of feeling it, you're seeing the fact that the car's rolling. So seeing that in the VR is really
you've got
helpful.
to like see it visually or feel it visually. Yeah.
And also the noise as well. You can hear it come in as well. So that's quite interesting. And I think it's actually helped with track stuff as well, because you're listening more rather than feeling as well. So you get a little bit of a benefit when you jump back into the real car as well.
That's an interesting point. So as in just the noises that you pick up on can help you. And like, so what would you tell from that then? Like,
so mainly oversteer and braking just before you're about to lock up is really helpful. Or if you're getting too much like drop on the bump on the front end, or not enough, which I'm still trying to work out last night. I feel like I could go a little softer with the front bump, but that's enough. That's I'll figure that out later.
It's a whole other story.
Sorry. But yeah, noises and looking. The VR, I can't do it with a screen. I'm useless. I hit everything and miss braking points and all sorts. And then I chucked the VR on, and it was a different story.
Okay, so hope you enjoyed that. As I said, unfortunately, Chrissy's not going to be able to actually join us tonight. And as he said in the video, if you're watching there, he found 9 tenths. So that would have been enough to pretty much contend for the win. So bit of a shame, but Chrissy, if you're watching, hopefully we'll see you again on here soon. John has let us know that he's here. So hello, John, welcome. Good to see you back on the street.
He needs to get his set up so he can come racing.
I know. I can't remember what the story was now, but I think it got delayed at where he ordered it from, basically. But so the story goes. But yeah, hopefully he will join us soon. And that's just a good time to mention that our InGear Motorsport server, live streams, all of it is free for anyone to join. If you play Assetto Corsa Competizione, the server runs every day of the week, bar the occasional restart, so you can always go in and practice ready for the live streams. On normal circumstances, we live stream every Tuesday. We've got a little break for a few weeks after this where we're just going to be doing some other stuff, so we'll still be on YouTube and present on social media, and you can still join the Discord, which you can see below me as mentioned. So you can join that, come and get involved with chats, and we do polls and votes as to what people want to race. And our next championship will be starting in the middle of October, and that will be a GT3 championship. And if you've been following us for a while, you'll have seen we've just finished a GT4 championship, which was really good fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's really good fun.
So, yeah, I mean, everyone just literally has a good time and has some fun, and we're all here just to enjoy, you know, racing and motorsport. As I said, some guys even race in the real world. Some people are sim pros, and some are just literally here for fun and learning every week. And actually, I think they're the guys that I enjoy watching the most when we do this, because they every week just kind of step it up another little notch. And like I know Sharman was telling me, Liam Sharman, he's had a bit of a practice and maybe a bit more so this time. So
yeah, that's good.
Still learning, but he said he's finding time every time he does. So, you know, it just goes to show that pays off. Right, we will be going into qualifying any moment now, but before we do, I just want to run us through the timetable again. So if you're just joining us, or even if it's your first InGear Motorsport stream, you kind of know what to expect. So tonight is just a 190-minute race, but we do quite often do 2 30-minute races in one night. So if you prefer that format, then we do that. We kind of do a bit of a mix. Like I say, we mix it up based on what people want in our Discord. But yeah, the race will start around 7:50 p.m. So qualifying's just started. There's a small gap after for drivers to change their setup and prepare for the race, and then race goes at 7:50. The race should finish somewhere around 9:20. However, we'll give it 5 minutes. This is 9:25. We'll have some interviews, let everyone get settled, and see who we can drag up to our Discord commentary box to have a little bit of a chat with us after the race. So you can see over on the small screen at the moment, drivers have literally just hit to head out the pit lane. Qualifying has started, so we'll jump in and see what happens. And as we're watching, don't forget, you can message Charlotte and I in the chat. We can see it here in the commentary box. We're doing our best to keep on top of socials as well. So I think I put a question poll up on Instagram for InGear Motorsport. But of course, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or Facebook, you can drop a comment in the chat and we will see that come through and we can answer it. And I must say, I always enjoy this even more when we get people engaging and chatting with us. So, don't be shy. Tell us how you all are. How is everybody doing?
I've got my laptop here, I'm watching.
What's that?
I've got my laptop and all my devices here.
Charlotte's got an iPad, a MacBook, and an iPhone all around her. She's appled out to the max.
It's all pink
at the moment. So we spoke to Liam Sharman just now. There he is on your screen in the McLaren. And if you've been following along recently, we've now got a whole new load of cars to contend with, where drivers have jumped around a little bit. And we've got some Ferraris on the grid as well now. One of the things of Ferrari, unless it's changed in recent months, is one of the most expensive GT3 cars on the grid.
I don't think that has changed.
No, it probably hasn't changed. It makes perfect sense for Ferrari as well. So I think it is something north of €500,000 for a Ferrari GT3 car. So if you fancy going racing, this is probably the cheaper way to do it, is online virtually. And you can crash it as much as you like then and not have to worry about it. So that's always good. Just your pride that gets damaged. I'm getting messages actually already. Who have we got? It's just Dan O'Brien, probably telling me that he's just about to make it. He's asking me if I can extend qualifying. He's doing a game update as we speak.
Oh, Danny, he's an absolute hero.
He absolutely. What have we got? We've got 16 cars in the grid at the moment, which is quite cool. We've actually missed a few regulars tonight. So Chrissy, who we saw in the interview, as I say, he's had a drama with his graphics cards. That's just given up on him, so he hasn't been able to join us because of that. I know 8 Clements is not going to be able to join because he's had a bit of drama with his PC. And John, we were saying, was going to race but can't. And then Curran has had to relinquish his PC to his kids tonight. So such is the real world that applies to the drivers in our live stream.
Yeah, it's back to school now.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So
that on your stream at the moment is Clemson's teammate, that's Steez in the Nissan, one of the only guys that's actually stuck with the same car from when we were last racing GT3s a little over a month ago. And the drivers will all take a few minutes to actually start posting lap times on the board, hence you don't see a time for many of them, or any at the moment, on your screen. So it's a 2-minute lap around here. You know, you might get, well, say a 2 minute, it's a 1 minute 55 if you're fast. Sub 155s is getting really fast into the 54s. So it's a long way round, and as you saw if you watched the track guide just now, it's so easy to actually invalidate your lap. So if you run off the track in qualifying, you don't get a penalty because it's only qualifying, but it does invalidate your lap time, which means you then have to start the whole lap again, which means if you do that on turn 1, you've got to do that whole 2 minutes nearly before you can have another stab at actually trying to post a qualifying time. So lots of tricky challenges, even in qualifying for drivers, and half the battle is just getting a time on the board on tracks like this.
Yeah, so sorry to kind of butt in there, Mackenzie, but I can notice some new liveries. So just as I was getting used to what everyone was running, we've had a little bit of a mix-up again now. Are we going to explain to guys who's running what now? I think Sheba Garage have probably had the biggest shake-up on what they're doing, which...
Yeah. Sheba Garage, if you've been watching, was the original team in the InGear Motorsport community, and we do actually give drivers the opportunity to update their liveries themselves, like Charlotte says. So you can see race director Ben's clicking through the cars. He has to do it one by one, so that's not his fault. That's just the way the game lets you click through different cars to view them. But yes, that's Danny Price just gone past our screens at the end of the mile-long straight that we looked at in the VT just a moment ago. And they've got Ferraris now, but what they've done is they've all got a different base colour. So you'll see Kid in a minute has got a red background Ferrari, Danny's in that grey colour that you can see there with the green embellishments, number 159, but still the lovely little Sheba dog on the rear quarter of the car you can see there. I did hear we're going to get an updated drawing of the Sheba on the side, but not appeared yet, so we'll see. I think Neil's waiting on Danny to do something there. But anyway.
No pressure, Danny.
Yeah, no pressure, Danny.
That's the list of everything else you have to do. Yeah.
You think you've got a job or something to do instead? I don't know. So yeah, there you go. And he's got these kind of like paint splats and stuff over the car that are quite cool. So quite nice that we're able to do that. Not all servers that you see playing these games do actually allow that type of thing, but we think it's quite a nice touch. And as long as you manage to handle the performance implications you have to deal with, we seem to be able to get around it. So it's all pretty good stuff. So, oh, look at that. First on the board, D. Stallman currently at the moment. Nothing new there, but
yeah,
let's just go check
his
car out.
55.5 as well, so you said anything sub 55 is really fast. And
so he's not far off.
Yeah, first lap out is a 155.5, so I think we can be quite strong in there. Who's going to put a bet on that? He's probably going to go at least a few tenths quicker over the course of this qualifying, so yeah, he's on normal form then.
I would be gobsmacked if he doesn't find another tenth or two. Yeah. You can see it's dry at the moment. The temperature does change a little bit. When we were testing here earlier last week, in fact a week ago today, it was very hot on the track. There was a track temperature of 37 degrees, so hotter it is, generally you get more grip. Might not last as long for the tyres go off, but you do get more grip for qualifying. So yeah, that was where he touched into the 54s, so we'll see very fast. But there he's on your screen now. He's from Vegas Sim Performance, and he's teamed up with his dad, who Charlotte just heard has joined Discord as well, so he was chatting away just now, wasn't he?
Put a voice to the name for the first time. Danny Price is looking really strong. You know, he's only a second and a half off there. He's straight in P3, so that's looking really promising for him. Heath as well is looking really good in the McLaren, so he's made a bit of a swap there. Really, really close in time, so between those two there, it's like three. My brain's gone. More than a 10. 3. Like
second hundredths tenths.
No, but it's even less than that. It's even less than that. So
it's in the thousands.
Yeah, that's it. So my brain's gone. It's been a long day. So that's really good to see that already. We're looking to have some quite close racing, potentially over a course of a 90-minute race, which I think we've all got fingers and toes crossed that that's going to happen over the course of the next 90-minute race after qualifying.
So there is Stallman at the moment then, looking nice and racy on your screens. And tell you what, why don't we jump on board with him, because he's just about to start a lap. So we'll get into the cockpit of D. Stallman's car here. There you go. In fact, practice helmet cam. As you see somebody coming out the pits there, that's also something to be aware of. This race will have pit stops, being a 90-minute race. What we found is the drivers don't tend to do a stop for tyre changing, but they will need to definitely do a pit for fuel. So most of them hold around 120 litres in the fuel tank, but they will need somewhere around 160 to 180 litres of fuel. So even with the best fuel saving in the world, if you want to be anywhere near competitive, you just can't make that work to do a no-stop race. You're going to have to stop at least once. We haven't forced it as a requirement though, so somebody could, you know, if they want to, try and do the whole race just pootling around and not stop, but you only really lose about 22, 25 seconds to a pit stop at this track, so it's mostly worthwhile doing. So here we go up that very, very long straight that just kind of stretches out into the horizon in front of you. The car will touch, as I said in the track guide before, around 171, 72 miles per hour at the end of this. And with all the downforce these cars have pushing them down, that actually is a pretty impressive speed, because that actually drags you back on a straight. Turns in there, a little bit of oversteer as we go into that corner at the end of the straight, but not running too wide on the way out. And then we go into the long right-hander that tightens up further and further as we go. So yeah, we're starting to say then that Dom Stallman here, he races with his father, Roland Stallman, who's the other Vegas in performance car. And Dom actually recently, as we see a bit of drifting going on, very nicely held there. Won't be the fastest lap, I imagine. You can see actually in the top left, that red section means that 1, it's invalidated, and 2, he's currently slower than his best. So Charlotte, any predictions for the race?
I think Danny Price is going to go really well. It's a bit of a difficult one, isn't it? Because we could do this typical thing of storming straight in there, but when we last did a 90-minute race, he very, very, very rarely makes a mistake. Very rarely. There was a couple of little moments there, and we all know that it can be over so very quickly. I think it's something that you picked up in the track guide as well. Is track limits. Now, as they get further into this race, as they start to get an hour and 10 minutes in, they've really got to hold their concentration here, because it's like you said, they don't want to just be giving away time and having time penalties.
Yeah.
I think the top end of the grid is going to be close enough that if 1 or 2 of them start to make those mistakes, that the complete finishing order is going to run in a completely different way. So, yeah, kind of a prediction, kind of not.
I think Paulina's happy. She said yes, Danny. Paulina, how is Danny? Tell us what his mindset's like. Because I think he sounds like he's had a hard week already.
Yeah, he ran to me about work. So
yeah, that's how it is.
Maybe he's let his frustration out on that one.
I've just seen that Paul's joined on Facebook. Hello, welcome. Anyone that joins, because you've got people watching all over the place on Twitch, YouTube and Facebook. You can drop a message in the chat if you're just joining us. People are filtering in now that we've been going a little bit. You can say hello on chat and we should see it. It should come through. Yeah, that will. So we've got a couple pubbers that have joined in. Dan O'Brien, as we were saying, was updating his game just minutes before qualifying started and joined a couple of minutes into qualifying. Doesn't need a full qualifying session, Dan O'Brien. He'll be fine, just join in. For once, though, I do know that he's done a little bit of practice on this track.
He's raced here as well.
And he's raced
in real
here.
life, so.
In real life, yes, good point. Although he probably won't want to talk about that because that resulted in his Ginetta GT4 car just bursting into flames.
Yeah, okay, so we'll scoot around that one, but he's been there, so he's got experience around this. And Danny's always the person to turn into qualifying halfway through, always puts it, at the right end of the grid.
Yeah, P9 at the moment. I mean, the top 2 or 3, without going back up there on the time board because we see what you see, they are a long way ahead at the moment though, 2.9 seconds over the likes of Dan, but it's a good couple seconds up the road on most. You see Heath is in the mix there, that's him on your screen in the McLaren, and the white and yellow Nissan in front of him.
I've got my fingers crossed for Heath because he had so much bad luck in the last couple of rounds of the championship we did, and he was beating himself up about it, so I've got everything crossed that he's going to have a really strong finish and hopefully build on that confidence going into the championship in the next few weeks when we start running it.
I've got everything crossed for Heath.
Yeah.
He's a lovely guy, but he just keeps getting a little bit unlucky, or he'll take a little bit of a chance move and it just doesn't quite pay off for him. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing what he can do tonight. Like you say, he's also at the right end of the grid. I think he was P5 a moment ago. My stream is getting patchy already. So, Kid in 7th, he's one of our regulars in our Discord, which is free to join for everybody. There you go, the red Ferrari with Shiba Garage written on the back and the picture of the Shiba dog written on the side The inside joke is that Neil's dog, Harambe, which is a Shiba, is actually the team boss. So every now and then, when you're actually playing the game, the guys are all in a chat room together so they can talk.
Yeah.
And you'll hear Harambe walk in and just shake his collar.
Yeah, and that's one thing I do. So you probably hear throughout the race that I will start dropping out. I like to drop into the other chats just to see what's going on, because we see what you guys see in terms of screens and cameras and things like that. So if we think that something's heating up towards the back end of the grid, but we've got something going on at the front as well, that's when I'll jump into the different chats that the guys have got running. And they kind of section themselves off a little bit more now. They've definitely got a bit more competitive over the last couple of weeks. So they hear me dropping in and out just because I can pick up on any chat. If they're kind of saying, oh, you know, number so-and-so's doing something, then we can watch that, because we've got our race director in the background. So I feel like we should probably give the guys that are in the background making all of this happen as well a little bit of a shout out.
As he quite politely says, well, if you want to in my ear. So yeah, Ben's our race director. He's choosing the camera angles that you see at the moment and managing the live stream, so when we cut from one camera to the other. So he's got a lot going on in the background to deal with, as well as us just willy-nilly requesting camera angles like we like to do.
Yeah, so, we drop subtle hints.
Yeah, we like to keep him on his toes. Big fan of videos about cranes. There's a fun fact about Ben for you.
What's that? I told you.
If he disappears for a bit, he might be watching a video about cranes or something like that. Just seen Phil in chat's back. Remember Phil from a little while ago? Phil Lumley's back on YouTube. So he just said about Andreas.
Yeah. We've forgotten about George.
I was about to say about George.
Okay, I was going to say we can't forget the other person.
Don't worry, I'm going to say about George. George is in the background. He's doing social media and replays. So we actually have replay capability when we do these 90-minute special events. So that's always handy. We'll be able to get replays of the race start or any incidents and things like that. So anything you want, just drop a message through. We'll get George doing that. Make sure he's busy as well. We don't want him sitting around enjoying himself too much. Right, well, qualifying is drawing to a close, but only the people with a checkered flag next to their name in the HUD have actually completed their final lap, or rather the P for pit on the side. So that means they're still on an active lap. They could still finish that lap, and it could still change. But yeah, D. Stallman once again out the blocks, looking pretty damn fast. He's the German driver from Augsburg, as is Roland. Then we've got Heath from the Midlands in England. We've got a couple of pubbers in there, Bonker and De Garta. I can tell you where De Garta's from. I'm not sure about Bonker. De Garta's a very Italian-sounding name. A couple of Audis, which I've not seen much on this track either, which is quite interesting.
It's a nice mix of cars actually on the grid, isn't it? But I'm just looking down the grid order, and that's a big grid as well. 22
and it's changed
cars.
a little bit again. Yeah, I'm so pleased we've had a nice turnout. There is Jelinek. Oh, well, that brings back Mercedes-Benz training days, doesn't it? Which Charlotte and I both done plenty of. Emil Jelinek, there you go, there's a name for history. Go check it out. Responsible for one of the earliest race teams and funding Mercedes-Benz.
And his daughter was called Mercedes.
And his daughter was called Mercedes. If you don't know already, Charlotte and I are massive Mercedes-Benz fans. But let's not do that now, because qualifying's coming to a close. And while everybody is finishing their laps, we need to go to a quick ad break for our Discord server. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for our 90-minute endurance event at the Paul Ricard circuit in Marseille, France. Drivers have just finished qualifying and getting ready for the 90 minutes of action you see ahead of you. The grid is full of cars, which is fantastic to see, some regulars and some new for the first time to our InGear Motorsport live streams. D. Stallman, though, that's a name we've heard before. He's on pole position once again in the Porsche number 92 for Vegas Sim Performance. Bonker in second, Schultz is in third, both two newcomers, and one of them's in a Lexus. Not seen many people in the Lexus so far, but it has been fast around this track, so that's good to see. Heath has put in a good time. He's right at the sharp end of the grid in fourth, and I know he'll be chuffed to bits with that, but still looking to go a few places higher up. Certainly second is possible, but Stallman is very fast, so he'll have to pull something out of the bag for a win. Roland is in fifth, so the other Vegas Informers driver. Heath from West Midlands. Degata down in sixth. Danny Price, a little bit lower than I expected, but still right in the sharp end in seventh. But maybe he just wants to be near Neil Kidd.
I was going to
Once
say,
again, they're near each other. There's
again.
Kidd and Danny together. Then you've got Steez in ninth, Dan O'Brien. It's always the way that our regulars bunch together, which always puts me on the edge of my seat, worrying that they're not going to hit each other at the start. I really shouldn't have just said that, but there we go. Commentators cursed. Paradox is 11th, Sharman 12th. Well done, Sharman. That's a really good qualifying for him. Really pleased with him. Good stuff, man. Hall in 13th, Toy in 14th, Mallet in 15th. Gillick, he's one of ours. Racer was regularly 16th. Kristiaki, he's also new to our group. So Andy, well done to you in 17th. Jelinek 18th, Garnier 19th, Sancho 20th, Andamika 21st, and 22nd. Running out the grid is Marshall. A lot of names to get through there.
Yeah.
So the drivers will just be finishing off at the moment with their setups, their pit strategies, because like I said, there will be pit stops. We're starting at 5 a.m. in the morning in game, so you can see it's dark, the lights are on. The lights need to be switched on. You can actually get a penalty if you don't switch your lights on. Some drivers have it set up, so that's always one for them to be careful of. And we'll be getting going underway. Here we go then. So formation period has begun. The cars will actually, you'll see them kind of sliding inside each other and all sorts of weird stuff happens at this point in time. But once they get to the start-finish straight, it's all lined up, nice and neat, ready to go. The lights will go green and then we'll be racing for our 90 minutes of action. If you're watching in chat, do say hi. Any moment now, the lights will go green. You've got D. Stallman on the front right of your camera angles, and then Bonker on the left. Green lights, we're racing at Paul Ricard. Stallman gets a nice clean getaway. Actually got the jump a little bit on Bonker in the Audi, who's holding second. And then you've got Schultz holding on to third. So a nice clean getaway for the front three. Porsche, Audi, Lexus going to turn one. Looks a little bit choppy in the mid-grid there. We saw a car, I think that was Steez, that got spun around. Not sure quite what that was. That's exactly what we'll be looking for in replays in a bit. But the top 4 or 5 getting away, including Heath, which is great to see. Number 38 McLaren, currently 4th place on your screens. Sort of dark greyish, blackish car with blue on its livery. There you go. That's Heath going in behind him. Roland behind him with a white and green Porsche with grey elements as well. Yeah, we'll see what we can find out what happened with those other guys in just a moment's time. Otherwise, though, looking fairly clean. And then you've got the first of the Sheba Garage cars not too far behind that. I think Danny Price still is there. He is. Good time for my stream to stop up. So you've got Heath there is the car on your screen. Following him is Dan O'Brien in the big Bentley. There's nothing more menacing than a big Bentley in your rearview mirror going up this straight at the Paul Ricard circuit. 1 mile long this straight. Plenty of slipstreaming opportunities for the guys to get past. A couple of guys going 2 abreast into what will be a fast right-hander at the end of this. Can everyone keep it on the track through here? There goes Dan O'Brien, Kidd and Danny Price all through, running close together. Heath at the front of that little pack there. Charlotte, I don't suppose you saw anything on that little incident with Steez?
Yeah, I'm just listening. I've actually dropped into the Discord chat, so I am in with Danny Price, Kidd and Steez. Something has happened. I'm not sure if it involved Dan O'Brien, because obviously I'm just picking up on what the guys are saying to me. Ben has just then said in the WhatsApp chat he thinks it was a Porsche, so we're just going to get George to have a look at the replays now just to see what actually happened on that thing. So I'm actually just going to step away from the microphone for a minute so I can chat to the boys.
Cool. So then, Degata on your screen at the moment in the white and reddish coloured Audi, number 68, mostly red.
Do you know by who?
As the drivers then come round to start lap 2, you see Dan O'Brien in the Bentley still all over the back of Heath, number 38 in the McLaren, as they go through that first chicane, turns 1 and 2. Looking like he's got a good run here, O'Brien, number 55. Potentially going to go up the inside. Look like he might make that stick. Heath won't want to give that up easily. Onto the brakes, they turn in. Dan O'Brien thinks better than it. And didn't make it work this time. Then you've got Kidd on the back of those pairs still in the red Ferrari. So again, part of our main little crew there, racing close together. Danny Price is a few places behind them in the greyish coloured Ferrari, you can see. So I think he's potentially having a bit of a scrap as well.
Yeah, I think this is going to be interesting to see what Heath does, because we know that Heath gets really, really defensive. Sometimes you are better off to just let someone go and bide your time with this. And we've seen this as a little bit of a mistake, maybe a bit too aggressive too early on into a race.
Yeah, actually going
90-minute race here. Really defensive.
It becomes a battle of attrition at this point. You've got to make sure you go the full distance. So you're absolutely right. He needs to not fight too hard. As they go 2 abreast at the end of the straight here, he's making Dan O'Brien go the long way round. And again, that's now opened Dan up to being overtaken by Kidd, as we see a Porsche disappearing off screen in the background. Not quite sure who that was.
Yeah, I think we need to actually maybe look into that Porsche, because from what I'm getting the vibe of, he's maybe caused 2 accidents in the space of a lap and a half, So, Mr. Race Director, George, if you guys can work on that for us, we'd appreciate that one.
I think it might have been no, it was a white Porsche, wasn't it? It may well have been the McLaren behind, yeah. So we've got a real mix actually at the moment. Sharman's in the thick of this somewhere, as these two look like they're running very close together there, and a bit of contact is actually made. That potentially caused some issues for other drivers. Yeah, so that was Melletin in number 23 McLaren that you saw facing the wrong way on the screen just now. Had a little bit of a collision with one of the other cars slightly higher up the grid. So a couple of the newer members, actually, yeah, you can see he's actually giving that position back after taking that. So that looks like our screen's going very pixelated in commentary. I do apologise, I'm not going blind. So who have we got behind the Melletin car that we just saw spinning round? That looks like it could have been Gillick, you know. Yeah, oh no, Sharman. So yeah, I did think Sharman was in the thick of that. So that is Liam Sharman. He had a little bit of a tussle there. I don't think that was any fault of his own. I think he just got caught up while the other car was having a bit of a tussle. So yeah, sadly he's lost a couple of places there, but still very much in the race. It didn't look like too hard an impact. So with a bit of luck, there's not too much damage to worry about, because in a GT3 car, they do have quite a lot of downforce from all of the different fins and bits of aerofoil and wings that you see across the car. So they do generate a lot of downforce, and if you damage that, you then do find yourself losing quite a bit of grip. But Sharman's still in the race, still an hour and 24 minutes on the clock of this 90-minute race, so plenty of time to regain those couple of places that he lost. What's quite good to see, though, is actually we're a few laps into this race and all but one of the grid is still running, as we see Madeline going side by side with Adam Kika in the Ferrari. Just one car ahead, if we could just take a quick glance at that and see how that turned out. Yeah, it looks like he made that stick. So Melletin's definitely fast, and of course he was towards the sort of middle front end of this grid and had that little incident. He's now going to be fighting his way back through, so quite a good job by him. But we haven't actually looked at the race leader for a little while, so we best jump back up the front end. We do have to click through each car manually, by the way this game's sort of camera system works, so that's why you see it jumping around a little bit. Stallman up into Stallman in 4th, Schultz 3rd, Bonker 2nd, D Stallman 1st. So O'Brien's in front of Heath, so he made that work then, because we saw that battle early on, didn't we?
Yeah, I actually think we should go and stick with that battle for a minute, because there's only half a second between the two of them, so you can see it's starting to bunch up a little bit. So on the back of Heath, you've got Neil Kidd there in the background in that lovely new livery in that red Ferrari, so we'll just keep an eye on them. And like I say, in the background we've got George working like the absolute clappers, trying to figure out what happened on the start of the race, really. And the whole point of this as well, and the reason why we look into it so much, is that if we do need to give someone a bit of a gentle nudge in terms of keeping an eye on their driver standards or anything like that, that's what we're going to do, because it's a 90-minute race. We want all the guys to finish. We want it to be a good race and a fair race, but you know, nothing too dramatic happening.
And speaking of, he has just come through and said that Paradox in the Porsche bumped Dan into the cars in front of him, or left into the free cars. So Dan O'Brien would have actually gone into Steez, causing Steez to spin, but that was purely because Paradox smashed into Dan O'Brien.
Yeah, and listening, when I was listening in on the Discord chat, I can't repeat too much of it because there was quite a lot of swearing going on, but I think it's important that we clear people's names where it's due, because it did look and it did sound like Dan O'Brien had just ploughed into the back of him, which he's not like that. He doesn't just do that. So yeah, we'll be talking to that.
Yeah, he races firmly but fairly, does Dan O'Brien, and no quarter taken or given, as they say. So you see actually at the moment we're riding on board with Dan, and that's Heath in the McLaren behind him, and then Kidd behind him. So these three having a great little scrap already. Heath having a bit of a look to get back past, and because there is such a long straight here as well as some of the other straights, you can benefit from the slipstream to try and hang on to the back of somebody. So if you imagine all the drag and wind resistance on a car, when you're the car behind, you're kind of already inside that little bubble that the car in front's created, punching a hole in the air. So it allows for this slipstream effect that we talk about and lets them stay a little bit closer and hang on to the back of them. Probably be quite good if we can let the guys know that wasn't Dan O'Brien's fault, since he's got two of them behind him.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump into the chat with them.
And we work on getting
step away again, so my Fitbit steps are...
You are driver correspondent, I love it.
ERPA, whatever it's called.
So you've got still this battle raging on here. It still looks like Schultz is in third, Roland is in front of these guys. They're starting to potentially break away a little bit, the top three, the top two. Let's have a quick look at D. Stallman before this starts to heat up too much.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I've just heard we've got a replay coming inbound, so we'll be able to have a look at that fairly soon to see what happened at the start. Thank goodness we've actually got replays on this one, because I think that would have been quite a hard one to clear up otherwise until afterwards. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. We can issue penalties. Probably we'll see something going Paradox's way quite soon if he did cause a crash at the start. So there is D. Storm at the moment. He's not got too much breathing space, just over a second. You can very quickly lose that. It only takes one mistake. Don't forget as well, these guys have to stick to the track limits. If they run over the track limits too much, they will get drive-through penalties. So you've constantly got that to think about. If you push too hard, you then might mess something up, run too wide, get a penalty. And you can see these little markers on the outside of the track, which if you was watching earlier on, I showed in the track guide. That will be actually going live after this race finishes tonight if you want to watch that again, or watch the full version of Chrissy's interview as well. So we'll have some of those features going live. So the Chrissy interview's in a few days' time, and the track guide is later tonight. But at the moment then, D. Stallman fighting hard to bridge the gap to Bonker in the Audi, and then Schultz hanging in there with the Lexus, but certainly a little chunk back. And then it gets quite close again between Stallman, DeGata, O'Brien and Heath. Still very close. If we could get back onto O'Brien or DeGata, because I think that little battle is definitely going to heat up more and more as we go through. Okay, so we have got the replay at the ready to go. So let's have a little look and see what happened there then. And we kind of see this just a moment or two after you actually see it in our commentary box. So stick with us and we will give a comment. So that was Steve's going the wrong way round the white and yellow Nissan that you see. Hopefully we get a bit more of an angle to see what caused that. So it's mid-pack there, yeah, you can see the grey Porsche, which is on the very right-hand side of the track, just clipped a car in the middle, and it was almost like a domino effect. So here you go, you see that crossing through, and Dan O'Brien had nowhere to go and just got kind of shoved into Steve's by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really anyone's fault there other than Paradox in that Porsche. So he's now out of the game anyway. So
chapping out.
Started with 22, and yeah, maybe he had a feeling what was coming to him after that one. Like Charlotte said, we like to keep it firm and fair. Then it keeps it fun for everyone. It is fun at the end of the day, so we don't take things too serious. But yeah, people need to.
Yeah, fair to fair at the end of the day, isn't it?
Then they will. Race director Ben will soon boot them out if he needs to. So still then, this battle for 5th is pretty cool at the moment. We've got Degata just managed to get himself a second gap to O'Brien. Then you've got Heath behind him and Kidd behind him. Kidd's actually dropped back a little bit from where he was. He was right on these two. And once again, hats off to Dan O'Brien. You know, all right, he's done a little bit of practice and racing in the real world a little while ago here, but still, it's a very different kettle of fish when you try and
his level of sim time that he runs on as well is very minimal.
Yeah, absolutely. So good effort by him to be right at the sharp end of this so far.
He's still hanging in there as well, so it's only half a second gap with that. And he's looking like he's trying to do the undercut there.
They're going to go into a left-hander now, though, so Dan has track position and manages to hang on to it, but Heath definitely having a look as they go very, very close, nearly touching as we round off the last couple of sections of Sector 1. We're now going up the long straight. This is going to give Heath the opportunity for slipstream, bit of slingshot around the outside, probably be looking to make that one stick. Kidd will be looking at that, the red Ferrari in the background, they're thinking, I fancy getting back onto these two as well if they keep scrapping like this. That's the problem. You don't want to lose too much time as they nearly touch mirrors going into the end of the straight. But Dan O'Brien says, no, for the time being, I'm sticking where I am.
That was very, very good, close racing there.
Yeah, good stuff.
That's why we sit there gritting our teeth thinking.
As they get really close. Again, look at this. I mean, Dan O'Brien's making an already wide Bentley even wider, and he's trying to negotiate his McLaren there past. So, yeah, Dan in the sort of black and green coloured Bentley that you see. I think we had this conversation before about what colour green that actually is. It's more of a teal colour.
Yeah.
Let's not go into paints on tonight's live stream. Let's keep it simple. And then Heath in the blue and black McLaren behind him. Where's Danny Price got to? I don't want to jump the camera back, but if we could maybe just have a quick look on the scoreboard.
Let's definitely stick with these two because we know that something's going to happen.
Yeah, I thought something might have happened in the background there. So he's 6 laps. I know he's on lap 6. I'm not sure if he's still running or not. We'll find out in a minute. That's a real shame. And Andy also looks like he hasn't posted for a little bit. Gillick at the back end, and Sharman's still there as well. We've lost a couple of drivers actually, 16 there now all of a sudden. Right, let's get rid of that menu and stick with this battle with O'Brien and Heath. Oh, go, go, go so far.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a busy first 5 laps there. I'm running from one end of the office to the other, speaking to the guys down the Discord chat. Heath is all over the back of Danny though, isn't he? It's not an if, it's a when, isn't it?
Yeah. And all the time, that's keeping kind of Kidd in play just a few places further back as well, because he'll soon be on them. Once they scrap too hard, then that'll happen. So it does look like Danny Price has left the race. Again, hopefully a replay will help us clear that up at some point, whatever happened to him. Real shame, you know, we're barely 15 minutes into the 90-minute race, so lots of racing was yet to be done. But yeah, so he's out at the moment. We'll see what happened at some point, hopefully. And we've had a few people saying hello on chat, but it's gone a little bit quiet. So, you know, do say hello if you're here watching. What's your predictions on? What do you think so far? What did you think of that incident at the race start? Did you see something that we missed? Heath looks like he might make it stick this time. Once again goes to the outside. And this is the run onto that back straight. So, you know, or coming off the run of the back straight into the next complex, into the final couple of corners. He looks like he always is very strong on that change of direction between corners, and that makes sense in the nimble McLaren versus the heavier Bentley. That was very close again. Yeah. These two are going to be palpitations.
These two, yeah. It's good racing though. I think what they do need to remember is we're 15 minutes into an hour and 30-minute race, so it's a long race that we've got left. So
Heath actually moving over to flash his lights there as well, so clearly feels like he's a faster car that needs to get past Dan O'Brien at the moment.
Yeah, it's always a funny one with the flashing the lights, because it's like, do you really think someone's going to pull over as if you're in the fast lane?
Oh, he goes for a bit of a late lunge. Can he make it stick on the track? I think he did.
Oh, absolutely. That was a good move.
That was a great move. And we've had our second drive-through penalty of the race, which is N. Schultz in second place. In fact, third penalty. I did call it before we even started. There's going to be drive-through penalties. We're barely over 15 minutes in, so there's an hour and 13 on the clock, and already 3 cars have got a drive-through penalty. Now, they may not all be for track limits, but there's a good chance they are. So the car in second place will soon lose 20 seconds, which is a bit of a shame because he was hanging on to D. Stallman for a little while there. look at this, we've got a pack of 4 cars now all of a sudden thanks to that little tussle. So Dan O'Brien will be watching his mirrors thinking, I need to kind of stay out of trouble here because Kidd will be on me. So it's the car at the back of the shot there, the back of that little pack, Mashoy, that's got the next penalty in the Lamborghini, just behind Neil Kidd. So although he's on the back of Neil Kidd will be knowing that actually he's got a bit of breathing space to that car, because he will, within the next 3 laps, have to take his drive-through penalty. So just like the real world, you get 3 laps past the pit lane to drive through the pits. And of course you have to do that at a much slower speed within the pit lane speed, so you then lose a lot of time, and that's what causes the penalty, or kind of why it's a penalty.
This is really, really close sort of top bunch, isn't it? It's kind of like anything's going to happen here, because again, it's not mandatory that the guys take a pit stop, but it's kind of inevitable that, you know, most of them are going to at some point throughout this race. And in the test race, was they running pit stops with that?
Yeah, everyone pretty much took a pit stop. Well, everyone took a pit stop. But like you say, they don't have to. They could do fuel saving the whole race. But the interesting thing is you can change tyres, which adds an extra 15 seconds. Right. Or you can not change tyres and stick with the set you've got. And that means people may find their tyres going off on the last sort of 10-20 minutes. Which I think most of them are opting to not change based on what I've heard. Which did, well, that was the better strategy. That was what Stallman did in our practice race, and clearly was faster with it. Danny Price actually took a chunk of time out of me because he didn't put tyres on and I did. So I spent an extra 15 seconds in the pits and lost the place.
Yeah, I think that.
Among other things, he was fast.
It depends what your outright pace is there, and we know that Stallman is very, very fast. So, yeah, be interested.
We've had Phil's back in chat. He said just blame Sharman for the crash. That's what he always does. Maybe so. Maybe so. As these two once again neck and neck. I want to go on board, but I also don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, I think stay on this camera view because we don't want to miss anything. And Danny's looking, isn't he? He's looking to make that move. Yeah. Perfect for Neil. If I was Neil, I'd just be sat there waiting for the action.
Yeah, we'd be rubbing his hands together.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I think maybe he has made the right decision there. Just let the Lamborghini get past. Let the Lambo put pressure on Danny and Heath there. As long as Neil's in the pan, let the drama unfold, and he could sit there, like you say, he's probably rubbing his hands together, just holding on.
And what has happened between the penalty for Schultz in second and a couple of cars kind of jostling around, losing position, is that we now have both the Stallmans running 1 and 2. So Roland, if you remember, was actually P5 on the grid, and he's now found himself up in second after all the squabbling of everyone else. And I think that says a lot, that this isn't just about out and out pace. There's a certain amount of actual racecraft and logic behind the way you tackle a race of this distance. And already just the calm, controlled precision of the two Germans clearly paying off in the early stages of this 90-minute race. So, I don't know if, how we're looking for replays for whatever happened to Dan Price. But again, I'll mention it and see if our guys in the background can find us a replay at some point.
Yeah, I don't know if Paulina can help us out there a little bit and let us know, because again, they're in the same house there. She knows roughly what lap it was on or something like that with the drama that unfolded, because it'd be good to see what happened to Danny. And again, I feel like Danny's had a little bit of unfair bad luck over the last couple of races as well. So fingers crossed that he can. It's a long race. It's a long enough race that anything can happen.
And Danny now under pressure from Mashoy in the Lamborghini, who has a drive-through penalty to serve any lap, but he's still racing for as long as he can. So Dan, if he's looking at his HUD, may well see that and think, you know what, I'll just let him go.
Yeah,
I think,
crack on, mate.
He very much, given how hard he fought Heath, he definitely just let him come past clean there, because of course Kidd is still looming in the background in that red Ferrari.
And that's the difference as well with eye to detail. You know, Neil's made the
I think that was Heath. I think that was Heath facing the wrong way. He must have had a little tangle with someone there. I have a terrible feeling that that was with one of his teammates that were coming around to be lapped potentially. But I may be wrong. And again,
I'm actually in their Discord chat, and someone pulled straight onto the track in front of Heath.
Do we know if it was one of his guys?
Yeah, because they're talking. It's
And Andy, okay.
Yeah, so Andy's pulled straight on the front Heath. Can we get a replay of that as well? We're keeping George very busy. Heath is sounding pretty gutted in the Discord chat, which is fair enough. And that's where it's really difficult, isn't it? Because there's so much happening around these guys. It's so easy to just kind of get into your zone and think about what you're doing yourself and forget about things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough just to keep a car on the track for 90 minutes. Just driving on your own, like Charlotte says. When you've got to imagine. I always relate it back to if someone who hasn't done any racing before or even sim racing. If you imagine joining a motorway and you're doing 70 miles an hour, or you join a motorway at 30, 40 miles an hour because there's not a long slip road and the cars are coming up on you at that sort of 20, 30 mile an hour difference, that's quite hard in itself to slot in. Well, imagine doing 150 miles an hour up a straight and then a car kind of spins off in front of you one way, you've got somebody else trying to come up the inside of you another way, and you've got mirrors half the size of what you do in your road car to try and see it in, and you're sat down low in a seat where you can barely see over the bonnet, with a helmet on. You kind of start to get a bit of a bigger picture of why it's so easy for these guys to make contact with each other. So it isn't always intentional, but certain drivers do a better job of managing it than others. So let's have a little glance over on the chat again. Phil says Andy the Greek assassin.
Oh, dear.
I didn't know he was actually Greek, but I guess the surname is a bit of a giveaway. But he uses a different name on our Discord, so that's
it's very confusing. We have to learn about 3 names for each person.
It's all these guys from Stoke-on-Trent.
Yeah,
the Midlands guys like
I've got
Heath,
Heath. I've got Heath now. I know.
Sharman's name in Discord is Dave the Bastard. So I mean that took a while to figure out. And they like to have a couple alter egos to run by, it would seem.
Yeah, we're going to try and get a little bit of a replay on what happened there between Heath and Andy, now known as Andy the Greek assassin.
I like that.
Yeah, we're just going to stick with that now.
I think it's him that has like dripping blood and a predator on his livery. So
yeah, well, it's quite relevant then, isn't it?
If that is, I mean, we have to try and find his car on the track now if we can. There's Steve's. We've not spoke much about Steve's actually, but after getting spun around the wrong way, he's now back up to 6th, which is good to see.
Cool, yeah. George is working like the clappers there, so he's pulled that replay. So we're going to have that replay with you very, very shortly to see what happened there. So the grid order has changed around quite a bit now. So Neil's doing really well up there in P4. We've got Danny in P3. Heath, I'm pleased that wasn't dramatic enough that it's dropped him way, way far down the books. Again, we've seen that in the last couple of races. He's had some massive mares.
Yeah.
Technical term there. So it's good to see that these guys are, they're still there. They're still there or thereabouts and where they want to be.
As you see, Steve's running neck and neck with Schultz at the end of the straight there. Schultz, we saw, got a penalty early in the race whilst running second, so he's now fighting his way back through the pit field. So a bit of work cut out for Schultz, but he's definitely on the right path to making a bit of a comeback after that bad start. Right then, we have now got that replay for the Heath incident. So while these two are still battling away, let's take a little look at what happened there. So you can see then that actually Andy was off the track and Heath was coming round the corner. Dan O'Brien got through okay, but yeah, didn't quite work so well for Heath. I mean, I would say you could see him from quite a long way ahead coming back on. And he didn't exactly go right across the track, but so I'm not saying he couldn't have done better there at getting out of the way, but he did join the outside of the circuit.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's that last moment. If you look at it, he kind of goes a little bit almost right hand down to get himself off of the red and white curbs there back onto the tarmac. And that's actually the bit that does.
He actually could have ran off the track for longer.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't actually. Yeah, I think the race control gave him a little bit of a warning just now.
Yeah, I do think that's.
I don't think that was penalty inducing.
No, but a little bit of a warning is, I think, yeah. But from the fact that I nearly burst an eardrum hearing them both shout at each other in the Discord chat. It's very quiet now in there, I must say. So
yeah, I mean that may well have damaged Heath's front end of his car a little bit as well, which then means he'll have a little bit of understeer on the front because he's got less downforce from the front splitter, and that's just kind of, you know, snowball effect really, because your tyres then lose grip, they slide more, they might go off more, and then you lose more front grip, so it just kind of spirals out of control as you go.
What is it with a mistake, Mackenzie? You haven't ever used this phrase before, but you
if you don't pay for a mistake once, pay for it at least twice. Yeah,
need to get you a t-shirt with that written on.
Yeah, Phil said he is bad, has Greek with a bit of Cockney accent. Oh no, he is bad, sorry.
Nothing wrong with the Cockney accent.
We need, yeah, I know. I mean, that's the thing, because I actually did speak to him a bit last week. I mean, he was in the Discord putting his kids to bed whilst racing at the same time. So you know, yeah, he may well have had a family member come up and start talking to him again. You know, you've got to remember, they're not actually really in these cars. It's games, so they're sat somewhere in the real world with real people around them, sometimes distracting them. So that's another issue that you have to deal with. So Steeds has dropped back a little bit from Schultz. Schultz is now eating into that 6-second gap up ahead to Heath in the McLaren. So he's still very much at the right end of this race, which is good to see. We've lost nearly half the grid just through people leaving, which is always something that I get particularly frustrated with in these longer races, because there's so much opportunity to come back after a bad start.
Yeah, I think as well, and I think this is something that, you know, Assetto Corsa does everything really, really well. But I think the one thing they don't do is show DNFs. So someone that has maybe, you know, comes in at 12th, but if you have a grid of 22 people, then actually that's a good effort. Do you know what I mean? You finished halfway up of where you need to be. So I think that's something that hopefully in time maybe the game will address, because I think as well from a confidence building point of view, and I think it was Sharman, we've seen this a lot, he's been steadily chipping away and getting better and better over the course of the championship that we run. But where people do drop out and, you know, are wimpy with it, I think, you know, if you're going to do it properly, or don't bother doing it at all, kind of thing. One of them mentalities, the racing background in me coming out there, you know, I think that should reflect. I think that should reflect in the driver sheets. But hey, maybe I'll write an email in, see how far I get with that one.
Just looking at a different part of the race going on right now. That's Sharman battling with Adam Keeker. So speaking of Sharman, he's having a good battle. Look at that, he's up into 9th place, Gillick in 10th, and Danny Price is still running, by the way. He's in 11th. So Pauline said he got smashed up a little bit, but then got going again. So presumably she heard him say a couple expletives and walked out again. But so where are we at in the running order? I mean, we have to still probably just check back in on these two. Oh no, these two are having a little neck and neck at the end of the straight. Hang on.
Yeah, no, let's stay here. Sharman's racecraft has really come on, hasn't he? You know, he's now pushing for those overtakes where, confidence-wise, you can see it. Has he put quite a bit of time in over the last few weeks on this, do we know?
Yeah, I think he's put a bit more in than potentially other races. He's had a bit of time to play. I think always would like more as he goes very close there towards the second half of the lap. You can see they're running quite a little bit wide as well off Adam Keeker. We've already seen a few drive-through penalties for track limits, so entirely possible we'll see more before the race is over. We're a third of the way through the race now. Half the grid's gone. I mean, it's been absolute chaos, really, if you look at it in that respect. Plenty of stuff going on. Hopefully we'll actually get to see what that Danny Price was on replay.
I can actually see car position number 8, so car 500, in that Ferrari potentially starting to get a warning there for track limits. You know, it's sort of been 3 consecutive corners there where he's run pretty wide, which is easily done on this track though, so I don't think it's intentional. I think it's just the fact that he's pushing on there. And
the good thing is the game will know if you've gained time from it, so if you kind of, as you run off, back off a little bit, the game won't punish you. So, you know, within reason you get away with it, but if you're just cutting corners and bouncing over those sort of inside yellow,
a little bit of oversteer there as he goes through there.
So we have got another replay for you. We've got the Heath overtake on O'Brien earlier on that we missed while we were trying to look at other ends of the grid. So we'll quickly play that one for you so you can see what happened there when he finally made that move stick. And again, it comes through a tiny bit behind for us in commentary box. So always just say that I'm not ignoring it. We'll give comments. So yeah, I think it was up onto the long back straight by the looks of it. which is where they kept having their incidents. Oh no, it wasn't. It was into one of the middle sections of the lap. Yeah, it was those changes of the directions actually where Heath had that slight advantage. Just let the brakes off, up the inside, and I think O'Brien. Yeah, that was a nice, good, clean move. And actually, to be fair to Heath, he has had his kind of slightly on the line moves in recent races, but that's been no fault of his own so far. But anyway, as we go back into the racing at the end of the replay, you can see this battle still raging on between Adam Kika and Sharman, which is good to see. Dare I say, it might be nice to sit on the back of the rear wing of that Ferrari now.
Oh, another like Sharman
might have just gone. No, he's
good.
kind of there, but you can see he's just dropped a little bit back now. Looked like he ran a bit wide coming out of that corner, a few corners from the end of the lap. Just a little bit wide. It's a long right-hand corner, and the car will just step out on you a little bit if you're not careful through there. So I think that's all that happened. You got the power down a bit too lively, and the rear end just went yeep, and slightly come around a little bit.
Oh.
So D. Stallman then now has a 21-second lead over Roland Stallman. I mean, he's probably thinking, what's going on with everyone? But actually behind him, there's just been all sorts of chaos happening that's held everyone up. I mean, Schultz was only a few seconds behind when he got his penalty. So I think he might have had a bit of a challenge on his hands. Likewise, if Chrissy was actually able to race tonight, I think he would have had a challenge on his hands. So as much as we've seen D. Stallman at the front regularly lately, I was a little bit kind of disappointed with him. We didn't get that fight to happen. But nonetheless, he's still doing the job, and there's still just under an hour to go. So pit stops, lack of concentration could get you a penalty. All these sorts of things could still happen. But that's Roland Stallman on your screen at the moment anyway, the sort of white, green and grey Porsche. His teammate, both of them race for Vega Sim Performance, and did quite a good job of it at that. But I've just noticed Dan O'Brien is 6.8 seconds behind, which at this stage in the race is nothing. Yeah, Dan's fast.
Really.
I mean, he and I had a great fight round here a few months ago, or a couple of months ago, when we first raced this track. And pretty much battled the whole way through with Roland as well. We actually both just nabbed Roland on the last lap, so we might see a repeat of that.
Yeah, and good to just get our eyes on Danny Price there for a moment, who's doing a good job of sort of keeping going with the race. And he's not one of them that just backs out because dramas happen and things like that. I think it's important that, like we say, the guys stay in there, they stick to it. It's all gonna help in the long run. And just having a little look here on the chat, and Phil said, yeah, Sharman has put quite a bit of time in the past weeks, and it shows, doesn't it? It goes down to that in practice makes perfect, and it's one of those things. The more you do, the better you get, and the experience that comes with that in terms of racecraft. And it's something that we've spoken about in the past weeks, Mackenzie. But we do see a slight difference between people that are less experienced in terms of racecraft compared to those that have raced on this a little bit more. Even things like pulling onto the track, like unfortunately dig Andy out a little bit for this one again, but pulling onto track and keeping your awareness around you, and just general bits like that. Do you find that there's a difference? Like you can almost know who you're racing against and what you need to watch out for a bit more, from an experience level point of view?
I think it's just that, and actually that is, again, the more experienced the driver, you will actually learn which other drivers are also experienced, or where they're likely to make mistakes. Like, we were saying Heath there pulled off quite a clean move, but you would also always expect Heath to go for a gap.
Yeah.
And I know if I see Heath appear in my mirror, I'm more likely just to keep to the side, because there's a couple of times he's outbraked himself or something, and then I've cut back under. Whereas D. Stallman, I know if he pulls out, he might just be having a look just to let me know he's there, but he might not actually do it. So, he won't pass until it's a much more certain sort of deal as such in most circumstances. So yeah, they all have their little traits. As the same thing happens in the real world, some drivers you need to give a wider berth than others. Some you need to kind of just sit and wait for them to make a mistake more than others. And others, that you need to push like absolute damn hell to stay on the back of them, and just try and get opportunity where you can. So yeah, it's another part of the game. And I think you can sometimes liken motorsport to sports like chess, which sounds absolutely alien, but there is absolutely this element of racecraft where you don't play your cards or play the moves until later in the race. You'll just be sizing an opponent up, figuring out where they're a little bit faster, where you're a little bit faster, thinking about where you might make a move so that they can't make a move back again. What lap do you try and pass them on? All these sorts of things. And then, of course, with pit strategies, you can go for things like undercuts, where if a car's holding you up a little bit, then you pit slightly before them, because then you come out into clean air with no other cars around you, you go a little bit faster in that clean air. Then by the time the other car's pitted, because you've made up a bit of time, they actually come back out the pits behind you, and you never actually had to go for a risky move in the first place. So there's tons of stuff at play beyond just trying to drive something as fast as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And this battle here between Sharman, and are you going to go for the name? We've gone back to the names that I just can't pronounce again.
Adam Kika.
I need my glasses on to be missing.
Adamika.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I was adding an extra C in there. Adamika. We have a slightly pixelated commentary box screen, so
yeah,
I'm going to go with that.
That's what we're going with. Yeah. Good battle there though. Sharman's got on the back of him after that little moment that he had there. So again, he's clinched on there. So we've got 6/10 between them two. Shall we head back up though to Dan O'Brien and Neil Kidd there and see what's going on with these two, and even Heath at some point as well?
Yeah, so they've spread out a tiny bit now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Dan O'Brien, I think, wasn't that far behind Roland. It was something like 6 seconds. Yeah.
Going to make an observation here. Dan O'Brien is fast. He is about to lap Danny Price, because Danny Price had those dramas, and we're going to show the replay of that in a minute. But Neil Kidd is behind Dan O'Brien, who's also a Sheba garage. Are they going to be talking to one another and doing team tactics here of Danny Price getting in the way of Dan O'Brien, which, you know, might make it quite exciting for us to see what happens to give Neil that opportunity?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going with there. I'm actually going to sling myself into the Discord.
So we've got that replay ready to go by the looks of it. So we might as well play that and have a little look. So that's the incident with Danny Price then, who's the grey Ferrari.
Oh. Walloped again.
Oh my! Oh.
Now that would have hurt.
That would have been a lot of damage. Yeah. He actually would have got away fairly unscathed there, but that second hit, I don't actually know who that was. I wonder if that was Paradox, who we were trying to get rid of to start with. And it just shows it's just one tiny little tap sometimes is all it takes. I mean, the rest of the pack, bar that one car, are doing a good job of avoiding him.
I'm back.
Who was it, Mr. Race Director in my ear that was...
I was just saying I was wondering
C-Toy, yeah, okay.
Tactics, because Dan O'Brien's sort of the sandwich between your cars at the moment, isn't he? So.
Interesting.
Oh, he's just coming to the pits now. Yeah, I was going to.
Dan O'Brien's in for his pit stop. Slightly early, actually, just before half race distance, he's coming into the pits. I wonder.
Tyres.
No, I think that will be fuel, because he was messaging me while I'm commentating. What fuel should I use? And I was thinking, I don't know what fuel you need to run in your Bentley, Dan.
Typical Dan spec as well with that one.
Yeah, so I would imagine he's not put quite enough in, but if he now goes a full tank of fuel, which let's keep our fingers crossed he does, he should just about make that to the end. Because like I say, you need about 180, 190 litres for the bigger cars like the AMG or the Bentley.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when these pit stops start happening, because this is when the order really starts to get shaken up and sort of mix everything up a little bit, and that's when it gets complicated for us though with who got joins back at what time. So that's what we're going to.
Dan O'Brien has had a pit.
Yeah, should we write that down for a minute?
Yeah. So that puts Heath back up into fourth. Kidd is up into third now, because Kidd was in fourth. So, do you know, Neil Kidd always does this, and he does a fantastic job of it. He just keeps his nose clean, stays out of trouble, and then just picks up the pieces at the end. He's like the little kid wandering through the forest, picking up the crumbs of the trail.
Someone else has dropped out from skipping along. Yeah, but the thing is though, there's nothing wrong with that, and that, again, that shows experience, doesn't it? I mean, when John gets his setup, so John's in the, he's always a very loyal follower. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see the dynamics between those two on track. Are they going to share setups? They're going to help one another?
They're in the same.
Where are we going to go with this?
They're in the same house, so let's imagine. What if they have a crash?
Right, it's awkward.
So that's Heath now coming into the pits in the McLaren. See everybody enjoying themselves in the wonderful hospitality area there, look.
Before COVID.
Before COVID, yeah, no social distancing from the spectators in the Assetto Corsa Competizione.
And I mean, not to take the mickey out of that situation or anything, I think this is, we should probably talk about this. This is actually how InGear Motorsport started to gain real traction, isn't it?
Nice pun.
Yeah, is that what I did there? Yeah. You know, it was absolutely something you guys have raced together for, you know, a good couple of years now. You're all friends, you spend, you know, a lot of time talking to one another. Oh, and Dan O'Brien's back out there, so.
Behind Adamica.
Oh.
Adamica runs wide, slightly over the track limits there. He would definitely get a warning for that one. Doesn't have to do anything yet, but if you do it 3 times, you get a penalty. As Dan looks around the inside here on the penultimate corner of the lap, going into a hairpin after this, I think Adamica just gives the place up, and Dan makes that work. Nice, close, and as we said, firm but fair racing there between these two. Adamica's not someone that we see regularly. He's just a pupper that's joined for this race. This is a live server. We have about 12 regular drivers, and then the rest is open for kind of anyone to join. So we did have, I think actually there were a couple down today, so we had like 14 extra drivers, of which most have now left, where they've all had a bit of a bad start. And we're just getting close to halfway distance, hence we've had a couple pit stops now that we've seen.
Again, my little inside information here, the boys are sitting very, very quiet in Discord, so they're pushing on quite hard. But Neil was, when are you thinking about coming in for fuel to Danny Price, and they're going to run to the fuel light. So in about 17 minutes time, 17 minutes time, that's when they're potentially looking at going into the pits. So can we just go up to the top of the screen, because again I'm just getting fed stuff from my ear, just I'm being a bit of a spy here and listening in. Can we go up to P1 and P2?
Yes, we're just saying how O'Brien got past Sharman and Adamica. We saw Adamica, the Ferrari, just now that he passed on his outlap out of the pit, which was quite good to see.
So, sorry, yeah, just picking up on what Neil Kidd's saying in my ear, he's actually only 8 seconds off of Stallman, so he's gained quite a fair amount of time back, and our Stallman ran just went straight on one of the corners up ahead.
I'm not sure though whether that's because Stallman pitted or not. I think you're right, and he actually hasn't pitted yet.
He hasn't pitted, no, because Neil just said, I can see one of the Stallmans, something's gone on there, and yeah, he went straight on. So I could put Neil in the race there a bit more.
I think I'm going to hazard a guess that that's Murray cheering on Sheba Garage on Twitch at the moment. DSM 113. 1113. How's it going? 1113. DSM. Hello, welcome. Glad to see you've made it in one way, shape or form, my friend. You should be out here racing with them, but no worries. Kid's doing you proud at the moment. He's just let everybody else crash in front of him. He started something like 8th or 9th and is up into 3rd at the moment. But we do still need Kid to do a pit stop, and O'Brien will probably reclaim that spot at some point. But yeah, he's right at the sharp end of it.
Halfway mark, keep pushing.
There he is on your screens at the moment. And some of you may well have recently joined, like David Murray, part-time racer in the league at the moment.
Just giving him some abuse.
Does the odd race here and there. Biased opinion, yes, it's me, David Murray. Yeah, so not racing with us tonight, but he's here on Twitch. Yeah, anyway, let's jump on board with the number 100 car of Neil Kidd and just see what the track's like from a driver's eye view, particularly now that it's lightened up a little bit. Remember, we started this race at 5 AM in game, which is kind of sunrise territory, and there's now actually daylight to be seen, so it's not quite so dark. And there's that sort of hooked inside ridge of that curve there that Neil's using. Then we come into the hairpin, and we're getting ourselves geared up for that mile-long straight in a couple of corners' time. You can see he's turning the wheel there, a little bit of understeer, and that will probably only get worse as we get to this stage of the race. Oh, John's parked back up for Sheba Garage as well. And as I say, the car will be reaching around 171, 72 miles per hour at the end of this mile-long straight. And good opportunity for slipstream if you've got other cars around you. But Neil at the moment, pretty much all out on his own. And I don't know what's actually happened there, because that gap was closer and it's now 9 seconds. So I think maybe there was
dropped off a second though.
Yeah, something a lap or two ago, and you'll see these little sort of almost, they look like paper cards poking out the ground that you're not allowed to clip or touch, because that is the track limits, as is the big yellow curbs or cones on the inside you'll see as well. But keeping it nice and clean and tidy so far. Wide entry into this turn to cut back for a late apex. Straighten the wheel, get the power down so the car doesn't slide too much with the steering straight. Long, fast right-hander, 2 corners to go on our lap here. And we then hold it nice and tight. Don't let the car run too wide, but we need to stay left, ready for the right-hand hairpin, which is the last turn. Again, got to keep the car nice and straight, get a good exit, and then head on the run back up towards the line.
This is where Neil really needs to do what he kind of does best, and just sort of get his head down and get some good lap times in. So if he can build a bigger gap, because what we have to remember here is Dan O'Brien has already pitted. So the only person really, or 2 people that he needs to sort of really worry about is Steez and he. So if he can get a big gap there, then he should be looking a-okay for a good finish here.
A-okay.
I'm going to call Mackenzie out here, everyone, on this one. So I just poured him a gin and tonic, because we do like to keep ourselves hydrated when doing this commentary, which I think I put a fair portion of gin in there. And he's just written on his whiteboard next to his desk, gin, ? So yeah, I'm just going to full blown out him in that one. So, yeah.
Oh well, this wasn't a Mackenzie measure then, that's all.
Off I go, do the wifely duties.
So David, if you're still with us, where have you headed off to this weekend? Anywhere nice? Oh, sorry, no, it's not the weekend. You want to race at the weekend? It's Tuesday. A weeknight trip away. That must be interesting. Okay, right then. Who else is close on the laps? Danny Price is still hanging in there. Is Gillick still running as well? Let's check in on Mr. Grant Gillick. There he is. I don't know if Andy left as well. Yeah, I think we might have lost Andy in that incident with Heath earlier on. But yeah, gotta love Gillick. Nice big monster logos all over the car.
Yeah,
black and green.
A monster.
Even though it's actually Charmin that's got a monster fridge and all sorts of other stuff and cans of it everywhere.
Bit of brand placement there with it.
Yeah. We are open to sponsorship from Monster Energy. If they want to get involved, hit us up, info@InGearMotorsport.com. Or other opportunities if possible. Race director Ben loves a can of Monster.
Yeah, it's his
In
favourite
the background,
drink,
I mean, every day, can of Monster. Keeps him going in the morning. His work colleagues have actually had to question him if he's on drugs in the morning because he's so hyper. But yeah, just from a can of Monster, I think, just sets Ben's day up perfectly. He's just telling me in my ear right now how much he enjoys it.
Cool.
Okay, that's Gillick. What about Sharman? Where's he at on the track? He's only one up in 9th. So 2 of our newest comers, and I think let's not forget with these guys that they are running in 9th and 10th at the moment, which is the back end of the grid. But oh yeah, we're kind of clicking through the menu, and it's not clicking through. Sharman's in stealth mode at the moment. There he is. Look. So yeah, what I was going to say is that him and Gillick are newer to our league. And although it looks like they're 9th and 10th out of a 10-car race, this was a 22-car race 50 minutes ago. So, you know, a lot of people have crashed and burned, so to speak. So it's just literally, like I said at the start, it's a battle of attrition. Who can last the longest? And at the moment, the person who's made the best of that is Neil Kidd, who's up in 3rd place. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's yet to pit still, judging by looking at the timing screens. Heath pitted and O'Brien pitted. Now that's an interesting one because Heath is now back in front of O'Brien.
Yeah, we have actually got the replay. If you check your WhatsApp chat from George, we have.
Ben telling how much he loves Monster.
Yeah, we have got the replay with that, which would be quite good to go to that because I think I'd like to be back in time for the Sheba guys to pit which we know is going to be sort of the next few minutes or so.
That looks like O'Brien overtaking both Sharman and Adamika on one lap. Is that what
so
you was
it's
expecting?
no, it's the other replay that we need.
Race control's all gone to hell. They've had enough.
Oh, okay, we don't have the other one yet, so maybe if we could have a look at that, George and Ben, that'd be most appreciated. So car number 38 and 55. I'll just put my bossiness on there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was on the track though. That's the thing. It might have just been hit
Yeah, it might have
quicker
picked
laps
up.
in during the pit stop phases. But I'm surprised because Dan went first. Do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if where Dan didn't have much time, he didn't get his strategy configured well. Maybe it was set to repair any damage that he had, change his tyres. Because then you go from a 15-second pit stop to a 45-second or minute long or even 2 minute long pit stop if you picked up some damage. So unless you know how to turn that off in the menus, you know, that is another thing here that you're doing in a game that you're not doing in the real world. Is not only are you race driver, you're also strategist and engineer at this point. So you've got like little menus that come up that you can then cycle through to adjust your strategy on the fly. So maybe you decide you need a bit more fuel, a bit less fuel in the next pit stop. You do want tyres all of a sudden. You wasn't going to change the tyres. All of that stuff, all going on. Now we're quite lucky here because you have such a long straight. You can kind of sit and cycle through those menus on the straight. But some tracks like Laguna Seca, there's barely a second's break, which is what we had in our last live stream. So, you know, it's not quite so hard here, but you still have to know where the menus are. And it's not as easy as you might think driving, particularly because most of them use VR, so they can't see their keys on the keyboard to cycle through said menus necessarily. So that doesn't help either.
Yeah, and I think that's probably worth a conversation here for new viewers out there, talking about who's running on what setup. I think most of the guys are running with VR, aren't they?
Yes. So I think Stallman is on the screens, T. Stallman, but Kidd, Heath, O'Brien, Stees, Price, all on VR. Not 100% about Gillick and Sharman. I know Curran, who races with us, also uses just a screen. So there's a bit of a mix, but no Curran tonight either. He's another one who's missing, which is sad to say, like I said at the start. But I'm sure they'll be back soon. That's the nice thing of these one-off events. It's not too big a deal for them if they miss it. But we will be back with another championship in a few weeks' time. So anyone that's watching this, if you think that you fancy having a go, this is all free to join, free to take part. You can come and sign up. As long as you're able to kind of circulate at a reasonable enough pace and not crash into people, then you're welcome to come and join in. Yeah, I mean, like I say, when people first join, of course, they're not going to be as fast as the guys who've been doing it for ages, but some people kind of don't let you race if that's the case. We just ask that you're sensible about getting out of the way and things like that. Or you might be really fast and come and show the Germans how it's done, because at the moment, they're showing everyone else how it's done, with both the Stallmans in first and second. Stallman, father and son, leading the way as it stands here in Paul Ricard, France tonight.
So, Danny there, just on the last couple of laps, it looked like he was running pretty wide in the corners that he was in. So the last couple, like I say, it's looking like he's got a Porsche behind him. So I'm going to go with that's Mr. Don Stallman there. I think giving his lights a little bit of a flash there as well. Oh, and Danny's run wide again.
He gets back on before the barkers look.
Yeah.
So you get away with it there. Yeah, so that'll be Stallman coming up on the back of him then. And that's why it won't look that way on the timing screen. The timing screen currently on the bottom left is showing you the order of running, but actually Stallman is much ahead coming round, to lap him. So,
but the Stallmans haven't pitted yet, or have they?
I mean, we might have just missed it, but I don't think they have.
I don't think.
Might be another challenge for George in the background there, just to have a look and see if he can tell us if the Stallmans are pitted.
Yeah, I'm. Well, I
mean, we don't know if Kidd's pitted yet either, do we?
It wouldn't surprise me if our Stallman is pitted, because he was, just looking there, he was like 39 seconds off of D Stallman, so his son, and originally there was only 22 apart. So maybe Dom hasn't pitted yet, but Roland has.
Mm.
Yeah, Phil giving us the goss on the setup there on Facebook now. Here, so he swapped from YouTube onto Facebook. Yeah, both of the guys. So that's Sharman and Gillick are running on VR as well. So there you are.
Yeah,
Have it here
I mean,
first,
VR
guys.
does work extremely well for motor racing games. It's quite good if you have a free screen setup, but it still doesn't beat how immersive like having a VR headset on feels, because it is like having a crash helmet on, isn't it? So I think that's what most people tend to go for. The biggest thing is getting the depth of field as well, because if you're coming towards a braking marker at nearly 200 miles an hour, and you kind of need to get the perception of how far or close you are. And I think when you're using VR, you kind of get that a bit easier. When you're looking at a flat screen, yeah, that could be hard to tell.
Cool, and yeah, we just had it fed to us here from Track Control that both the Stallmans haven't pitted yet. So with 32 minutes left to go on the clock, do we think? Well, they have to because of fuel.
Yeah, I mean, if they somehow make that Porsche go the whole race without fuel, I'll be gobsmacked.
Especially with the lap times that they're running as well. It's not like they're starting to back off and try and fuel save at any point.
So Heath now 3.7 back from Kidd. Dan O'Brien 3.1 seconds back from him. And then Steve's 13 back from him. And then just across the line, Price 31 seconds back from him. So maybe, certainly the top 4 or 5. Plenty of shifting yet to be done, I would say. And then maybe you might just see Danny Price and Steve's getting in there on the very, very final stages of this as well, with the top 5 as well. So, I mean, I can't actually believe how many drivers have disappeared throughout the race through spins, crashes, just generally going off. And like I said, though, because you get these drive-through penalties so easily here, you also see some of the public the members join, they then kind of get fed up with it and leave again. So there goes Heath running a little bit wide onto the straight, but you notice he gets back on just before those markers as he runs up our mile-long straight. The Mistral straight, as it is in France, and if you didn't catch it beforehand, lots of interesting facts around this track in Marseille in France. You've got all these different coloured lines running around the outside of the track. They're actually a very abrasive surface designed to actually slow the car down if you go off. So you notice a lot of tracks have gravel traps on the outside and tyre walls. Well, this place doesn't. They have these different abrasive surfaces to help slow it down. They do have barriers eventually, but just another interesting difference to some others. So the lap times between the likes of Price and O'Brien are actually not too different. They're all within a couple of seconds of each other. It's just that now everyone's settled down. They're, of course, at complete opposite ends of the racetrack to each other. As you see Dan O'Brien getting blue flags now to let D. Stallman come past. Hence, we noticed that Stallman was behind Dan O'Brien not that long ago, and he's actually now only just got it. Oh, and the race leader enters the pit lane then. So let's see how this shakes things up. I don't know if Dan O'Brien's quite going to do an entire lap in time before his pit stop. You never know what might go wrong. But once again, it's just been so sort of clinically clean and precise, hasn't it?
He just does this thing of getting the job done at the start and just going. And if it is a shame that Chrissy and especially if Chrissy found that massive 9/10 chunk of time as well, that he probably would have been challenged a little bit more through this. But at the same time, it is hard to lead a race from lights to flag finish when it's 90 minutes because it's a lonely race. You've got to keep banging those laps in, lap after lap after lap. That takes as much skill of winning a race as it does as anything else in there, especially if it's a lonely race as well.
Yeah, I'm just having a bit of a look through the lap times. Dan O'Brien's best laps are 56.4. Roland Stallman, who's ahead of him, is a 56.8. So Dan O'Brien, again, once Roland Stallman's pitted, Dan will be in striking distance of Roland by the end of this race if he keeps that up.
He's actually, George as well has just said with that he's actually been faster than Roland consistently for the last 5 laps. So, yeah.
Potentially, maybe Roland has got his tyres a bit hot, or perhaps has just kind of stuck in no man's land a little bit with no real carrot in front of him to chase. And that can also make you switch off a little bit and just lose a bit of pace. So whatever it is, Dan O'Brien's still just pumping in consistent lap times near what he should be doing.
Yeah, and actually, if we look at this, if we look at where Danny Price is back to where he was in qualifying. So if we take into consideration the fact that this did have 22 cars to start off with, he qualified in P7. He's got himself back there, and he was a way, large amount back. So he's done really well to claw this back on the rest of the team. So he's done a good job at just kind of chipping away at it and keeping his nose clean for the rest of that race. So it just shows it's worth sticking around. It's not worth just going, delete.
Get rid
Can't
of
do
it
that in the real world.
Exactly. Yeah, sponsors wouldn't be too happy with you if you just parked the car up after laps either. I mean, it's a game, it's fun and all the rest of it, but yeah, and what a lot of people do, they then go and sit in another lobby somewhere else waiting to join another game, of which they'll do 3 laps of. So there's Roland Stallman coming back through on Danny Price, but decides to go into the pits as well. So Stallmans have gone for really late pit stops, which is quite interesting to see. I'd be interested to know what the kind of logic was behind that. The only thing I can think of is that the track does start to warm up a little bit towards the end as we now approach 6 a.m. The sun's been up a little while, the track temperature comes up, and perhaps they want to adjust their pressures for the last sort of 25 minutes of the race.
Yeah, and I think you're probably on the right lines there, because again, their level of detail and precision planning that they seem to do for every single race, it wouldn't surprise me if that's what they're doing. So this is where it's a real good opportunity now that Dan O'Brien, so in that Bentley, needs to put the hammer down and just send it fully for a couple of laps to put himself back in striking distance of Arsenal when he does come back.
And if you remember 10 minutes ago, that was about a 3.9 second gap to Heath. It's now a 2 second gap to Heath.
Yeah. So he's fast, isn't he?
Yeah, Dan O'Brien's fast. Not quite fast man.
Put new tyres on.
Entirely possible. Entirely possible, because his pit stop did seem an awfully long time that he lost position.
And we've got to take into consideration that's a big, heavy car. Compared to others, it's not quite as nimble. He's pushed that hard from the start of the race, so...
Yeah, I don't think he has any other setting. As hard as you can.
If in doubt.
If in doubt, flat out, yeah.
Oh, well, I look forward to that, the drive all the way up to York. Takes the car sickness tablets.
Right, chat's going a little bit quiet again. Let's get something going on chat. If you're still with us and you're still watching, 1, who do you think's going to win the race? 2, any other comments you want to make? 3, any questions you have? Let's get some stuff going in there. See if you can throw a curveball question at us about this, or if it's something you want to see. We have control of the camera angles and so on. Race director's loaded up on Monster Energy right now. He's just gagging to click through the camera angles and have a look through and see what's going on. So yeah, hit us up, message us through. We had Phil, we had David, we had John, we had Paulina, we had F1 FTR Venom 14 on YouTube. That's a name and a half. Earlier on, we've actually Phil has switched across, so there's 2 Phils, but it's the same Phil. Phil covering all the bases on different platforms over on our chat.
Spreading the love.
George Barnard, who's doing socials, also managing to comment in the chat as well. Needs to get a can of Monster on him, and he'll be busy on those replays then. Again, open to sponsorship opportunities. Please do hit us up. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Heath.
Go on.
Yeah, so Heath has got a drive-through. Yeah, we both just went, because we're getting fed it in our ears.
Keithy, Jeff Badgers Kirk.
Yeah, so off it goes for, is it 20 seconds? You said 22 seconds?
It's about 22 seconds through the pit lane.
Yeah, so Dan O'Brien straight through there. Steve will go straight through there as well, because he's only 16 seconds off. Frustrating.
FTR Venom 14. At the moment, we're only doing stuff on PC, albeit there's a couple of guys, myself included sometimes, that play Rocket League, believe it or not, which does work across PlayStation as well. So, yeah, we do a couple other things. I think if the servers allow for it in the future, we'd absolutely include consoles. So, you know, still, if you're interested, the Discord links are around on YouTube, and we share occasionally on other channels as well. But yeah, the descriptions of all our YouTube videos, all InGearMotorsport.com. You'll find it on there. You can join up to Discord and kind of see what we're up to and suggest stuff as well. So we're not the biggest community yet, but I think there's something like 50 of us, and we kind of all pitch in and pitch ideas and polls and all that sort of stuff as well.
Laughing at it, giggling at chunking there.
A 30XX series card for my new PC.
Yeah, so for F1, FTR, then and 14 there, we've just put the link up there. So yeah, get involved in the Discord chat, you know, have a chat with the guys. You know, we're trying to grow the community more and more, so everyone's welcome.
And, you know, again, if there's I've seen a few people request consoles as well, so if we get a few people joining that want to start their own little thing on consoles and, you know, communicate in the Discord, totally fine. So it's all nice and friendly. So yeah, Dan O'Brien's picked up that place back off of Heath then. So lost out on pit stops earlier, but Heath's picked up his drive-through, gone back down to 6th, which means Steeds is up into 5th for Fellas Racing. And Steeds was the white and yellow Nissan that we saw facing the wrong way into turn 1, thanks to Paradox in the Porsche, causing that turn 1 incident on lap 1. So that's been a good comeback drive from Steeds as well. So actually, previous race winner at Silverstone, the last round of our GT4 series, him and Curran took a race win respectively. That's our 2 30-minute races there. So Steeds is another one that's just been kind of chipping away at it, getting faster and faster in the background. Always been pretty handy anyway. And yeah, good to see that he's dragged it back up to 5th, because while it says there's I think 9 or 10 cars in the race, we had 22 at the start, and as I said, a number of them then kind of drop out, which is such a shame it doesn't display it that way, because they technically all DNF'd and not finished the race. So actually, even Sharman in 8th has moved up a few places from 12th. Yeah, he's done really well. Just for keeping it on the track, keeping it going. So Liam Sharman's done well. I don't know if Gillick's still on, because again, we see the timing screen that you see. If we could maybe just have the menu up quickly, please, Mr. Race Director. If you just
he's there.
Yeah, he's still there. So Gillick's still running as well. 18 seconds behind Sharman, I think that was, so not too bad. Yeah, good. And you know, Gillick's a couple of races behind Sharman, so yeah, that makes sense. It's about right. Right, Kidd then is 13 seconds. I still don't know if Kidd's pitted. I don't think Kidd's pitted yet, but then O'Brien's back onto him now after his pit, so maybe he has.
Well, when I sort of jumped in to see what the guys were up to, they were looking at pitting sort of with 30 minutes to go, so that was Danny Price and Neil Kidd. So, you know, you've got 20 minutes left. I did hear him say something at one point about only having 6 litres left, so he might have actually done it, you know, with 35 minutes left or whatever. So, Dan O'Brien, he's
2 seconds back now from the red Ferrari of Kidd.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of Shiba fans watching. They might be getting a bit of an upset in about 10 minutes' time. We'll just have to see. Kidd's not one to make too many mistakes, so he can keep it clean. He might be in with a shout here.
Yeah, this is clearly a track that O'Brien really likes, isn't it?
Yeah. When his car's not on fire.
That. Well, yeah, obviously when his car's not on fire in the real world, but I shouldn't laugh at that. You know.
Well, he made it out okay. Well, it's actually his teammate Aid, I think, at the time that was in the car.
Yeah.
So it was an endurance race, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm actually just going to shimmy across, go back in.
Racing correspondent's back on the move there.
Yeah.
Charlotte Burridge-Taylor, racing correspondent extraordinaire.
Just all-round legends. You know.
Someone's had a can of Monster. Race director's laughing in my ear there. He's like, did somebody say Monster? Oh, I might have a can. Yes, Ben, have another one. It's all right.
I'm literally cackling in the background.
Who's that moving out the way?
Yeah.
Look, I think that's Sharman or Gillett getting well out of the way, which is exactly what you should do. Yeah.
Well, technically, no.
Well, it's not exactly what you should do.
Yeah.
But I think
So if we're going to do this by FIA regulations, then no, it's up to the faster driver to get past the slower. But the unwritten rule in races, just get out of the way.
Don't hold somebody up.
Yeah, don't hold someone up.
The old classics was when Ayrton Senna used to be setting his pole laps in qualifying. If somebody dared get in the way of Senna on a pole lap, then the crowd would go absolutely nuts at them. Because Senna's pole laps are magical. But yeah, Charlotte's quite right. You should actually just hold your line and let somebody come past. But if that was, well, it's not Andy because Andy's gone, but it was Andy that had the big issue with Heath earlier, the West Midlands racing guys having a bit of contact and cost Heath a few places, much to Heath's disappointment.
And my eardrums when they all started shouting at each other and I was in the chat.
They're naturally quite loud anyway, it seems, in chat, the guys from West Midlands. I don't know if they come out of the factory with a noisier voice box or something, but yeah, they just... Venom saying about how he races in F1 on Xbox.
John Kidd is going to be boycotting the stream if Neil loses third place. Well, I won't boycott the stream. I'll just boycott talking to your brother, John. Like, he needs to get it done. Bring it back in on a podium.
Venom, no, it is actually pretty much what you want it to be. So you'll find a lot of sprint races as well that are like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. We actually do 2 30-minute races normally, which is, as actually once you get used to it, is not that long at all. But you do find plenty of people doing 10, 15-minute races as well. But yeah, I mean, these type of GT cars, they are more suited for endurance, but we do actually have a bit of a mix. We may even look at doing some shorter sprint races at some point ourselves if people vote for it. So yeah, no, you can mix it all up and do whatever you like, really. And there's GT4 cars as well, which are really good fun too.
Neil Kidd's livery looks really, really good. Like a red Ferrari, you kind of just can't beat it, can you? But sort of the accents with the green on there, it's I think it looks mega. I think that's actually my favourite livery that they've done.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
bold statement
there. I'm loving it.
And the Shiba on the side, although they only have a Shiba on the left side, I've noticed now. So as he comes past the camera here, you'll see the little dog on the back quarter. There he is. Ah, perfect zoom in from the camera there. Nice job, Ben. Cameraman, race director, penalty giver, monster drinker.
Serial data as well.
Serial data. Watch out, ladies.
The mass producer. I can't hear the abuse he's probably saying in Discord chat, so I'm jumping around in them just to check on everyone and make sure they're all okay.
George just said he agrees.
Don't think you quite
right, this battle is heating up. We need to make sure we don't miss this, okay, everyone? Don't let us forget. Don't let us forget, because it's actually always the final stages of these longer races that really start to get a little bit
these
messy
last
again.
15 minutes are just going to go super, super fast. So Danny is currently sort of every half a lap taking out, every half lap to a lap taking out 0.4 of a second.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, on a circuit like this, you know, it's a fairly fast and flowing circuit. It's a technical track, but that's a big amount of time, isn't it, that he's doing there. But Neil is a good defensive driver, so
that looked a bit wide. Remember, he's not had a drive-through, so I'd be a gobsmacked if he's not had at least one track limits warning yet. He won't have much left in the reserve there, so he can't go too wide too often while he's pushing. So I think we've had confirmation that Kidd did pit on lap 28, so he's definitely pitted. So that means that this car we're riding on board with, Dan O'Brien, number 55, is absolutely racing with N Kidd in front, car 108, the red Ferrari. So Shiba Garage versus Boats and Hose Motorsport, actually, is what Dan O'Brien's racing under. Such is the big Bentley. And I mean, we need to make sure that we also don't miss Dom Stallman crossing the line at some point. We had cut to him a little bit every now and then, but you know, he's driven an absolutely flawless race, probably one of his best yet. Because at Laguna Seca, don't forget, he actually did have a couple of incidents.
Sorry to interrupt there, but that was very, very good on the brakes there by Dan O'Brien. He took out a chunk there, so he's only 6/10 off the back of Neil Kidd.
So turns 3, 4 and 5, carries a lot of speed through 3, has to stop it for 4, uses the inside ridge curve, gets it back over to the left better than Kidd does. He'll now get a better run, although he's a bit wide actually. You see the car, he just off the grip slightly there, off the racing line, and just pushed a bit wide, as he does here, look. He's having to really work hard, and Kidd now will get a better run. Look, oh my goodness, that's a lot of steering.
I can see Dan O'Brien actually get track limits because he has been running. I think he knows what he's knowing, and he's playing it very well. He's knowing when to pull the car back on track before those sort of little markers that sort of ping the alarm effectively. But yeah.
So,
I don't think this is a given.
Confirmation as well that Dominic Stallman has just done a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:54.5.
Jesus.
So,
yeah.
I don't know if he's looked over his shoulder at any point, but he's got over a lap lead. So, Dom, you can calm down now, it's okay. So, it looks like that first sector, Dan O'Brien, who were on board with, struggles a little bit. What are you shouting at now?
Just listening to a little bit of inside info from Neil, and I'm liking the tactics. I'm not going to call him out on the live stream. I would be doing exactly the same as him right now at this point in time. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we'll have to find that out later. Oh, yeah. Very close going to the last.
He's trying to force Dan O'Brien into a mistake.
How?
So his mindset is that he's like, if he stays as close as possible on the racing line, you know, does it all properly, Danny's going to have to do something, either go very wide or overshoot. And he can see in those mirrors that Dan has been running a little bit wide everywhere. So he's like, let me try and push him into a...
that looked like track limits.
Yeah,
drive through penalty. Track limits.
Yeah, drive through penalty.
Dan will be thinking about having a look anytime soon. Just under 12 minutes on the clock. This is the sector that he struggled with last time. If he can get a good run onto the straight, the Mistral straight, then he'll actually be able to potentially put a pass in at the end thanks to the slipstream. But look, Kidd carrying more mid-course speed. Yeah, Kidd doing a good job here. At the moment, John is still going to be watching future streams. He's not boycotting just yet. But Dan O'Brien doing a good job of trying to put the pressure on. I've just sat here and anticipation now.
I'm like, oh no, don't.
He's getting closer, goes to the outside as we head at the end of the Mistral straight. 171 miles per hour, 2 abreast into a fast right-hand corner. We're over 80 minutes into a race, doesn't make it well this time, gets forced to go right. Can he keep it on the track? Yes, he does. Very good stuff by both of them. You know, has a look, has a fair look, but doesn't go too crazy there. Steve's still back there, I see in 5th. Heath. I want to keep an eye on those gaps when they come from the timing board as well, so we don't miss anything back there. But at the moment, we're sticking on board with Neil Kidd in the Ferrari GT3 race car, followed closely behind the big menacing Bentley of Dan O'Brien, number 55. Joined the stream a couple minutes into qualifying. Stuck it on 6th on the grid. Is now in 4th, chasing down 3rd place of Neil Kidd. And Kidd, by the way, started around mid-pack, so we have to give it to him as well.
Yeah, Neil's done a mega job this race. He's actually... I'm not going to forgive myself if commentators curse happens here. I'm trying to stop myself. It's part of what we're trying to do. So I'm going to
Neil commented one race and just literally cursed everyone he looked at.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, we did that together. But
late on the brakes there with Dan, goes a bit widely, he goes a bit too deep. That's going to give Neil a little bit of breathing room for a couple corners, if not half a lap.
You know, Kidd is the only one so far this race really out of sort of the front runners here who's actually kept their nose clear, bar the Stallmans, which, you know, we have to put them sort of in their own league. Oh, and Dan O'Brien there's all over the back of him. I'm sitting here like fully tensed up right now.
I just sat here waiting for it to happen and hoping it doesn't. Danny Price, 12 seconds off of Heath, so that's not looking like much will happen yet. And Heath 21 seconds off of Steve. So, and we can't see Steve's in the back of this shot. So I think this is the fight to be looking at right now. And Stallman, Roland Stallman, we need to keep an eye on as well, see how far ahead he is, because Kidd wasn't that far behind him earlier on. It was maybe 8 or 9 seconds. So I just want to see, and the timing board updates every sector. It's not quite like Formula 1 where you get it a constant live timing. 15 seconds to the car. Yeah, absolutely. This is where the fight is, everybody. So we're going to stick here on board with the Ferrari of Neil Kidd. Oh. And you see with that slipstream, it just brings him right back into the contention. Neil goes a little bit wide, makes a dig deep there. Dan has a look on the inside. Neil might be forced to concede. Holds it. He's got the inside line for the next corner. I think he's going to hang on to it. I think he's okay for the time being, but just has to get it stopped. Can he keep that? Dan O'Brien tries to hold the outside to get the run on the next corner. Neil probably could have cut him off a bit more there, but gives him lots and lots of room. But then Neil's going to get the inside again as we go into the next corner. We've got 2 corners to go before the end of the lap. Neil has the inside line. Dan goes out onto the slippery, marbley surface. Neil potentially has the grip, but I think Dan's going to make that stick. Yes, he does. Great racing by both of those guys just then. And take a breath.
I just sat here with my mouth open, like holding on to my chair thinking.
I just saw the chat. John Kidd, how much will it cost to get O'Brien kicked? Would 50 quid in PayPal do it? John, I can't believe you think I'm that cheap.
That's enough a zero and I'm all over it, mate.
I mean, race director Ben might just take a couple of cans. Oh my, just after he makes the move, Steve, look at that. Dan gets a drive-through penalty.
Oh, I'm sitting here in the Discord listening to Neil and everyone play that. I'm gonna have to jump in. Neil, well paid with that one. We've just been sat watching it, make a job.
John, there you go. We've issued a drive-through penalty. That'll be 50 quid, please, my friend. Oh my God, after all that effort to make the move as well.
Oh,
he will be absolutely
sake.
And this is actually how his first race ended a few months ago, as he got a drive-through right near the end. That was only a 30-minuter. He will be absolutely livid with himself over that one. I'll be surprised if my phone doesn't go in a minute and he asks me to clear it for 50 quid.
Is that £500 we agreed on, or 50 quid? I think we're
I'll take £50 each.
Hey, don't sell us short here.
Yeah, well, that's 50 for me, 50 for you, 50 for Ben, and 50 for George.
So that's actually 100 for me then, because what's mine is. What's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine.
Sure.
So. Oh, right, okay, we should. Right, very, very good for Neil. Unfortunate for Dan O'Brien, because they've actually both driven very, very well through that. Let's stop being. I mean,
we got a little bit robbed there, didn't we? We got a little bit robbed of a good battle, I think, as well, that was going to unfold.
I'm not going to lie, my nerves are very thankful for that, because that was quite a stressful situation. We've still got 6 minutes left of it.
Oh, it was the way they kept holding it on round corners. Drive through track limits, 2 laps remaining. So now it's a 2-minute lap. Now, if Dan had done that a lap later, he would have been able to serve the drive-through as he came through the pits on the last lap, which meant he would have only had to do half the pit lane. So, because you only get 3 laps to take the penalty, and there's probably, from when he got the penalty, 4 laps remaining, you see what I'm saying? He has to do the penalty on a full racing lap, which is a bit of a shame for him. He could have lost a little bit less time. Now, that will bring him right back out in this little Stees Heath battle. So, we need to be ready for that on the last lap, but that does mean that he's going to give up a podium place to Neil Kidd. I think Neil's finished on the podium a good couple times before, but this one certainly feels like it was hard earned.
This one's, this is a good podium. You know, he's played this race from start to finish absolutely perfectly. You know, there was some dramas at the start and things like that. He's done a great job there.
Yeah, good stuff. And you see now as the sun starts to get a bit higher in the sky at 6:30 a.m. game time, you get these lovely like sun rays cast over the track. Just another detail in this game. So certain corners you'll see that. There's a random McLaren in the mix there. I don't know if that was he because it didn't look like his livery. It must have been Sharman.
Is it Sharman?
But I think they're coming back round on again. Yeah, that's O'Brien. So O'Brien's just got past Sharman, the Monster Man. Indeed.
The Monster Man.
Going a little bit wide there. So, at the moment then, with a couple of laps to go, it is Dom Stallman in the lead, Roland Stallman in second, and Dan O'Brien third for the time being, but will be coming into the pits any moment. Yeah, in he goes. Right, let's go on to Dan O'Brien, please. See where he comes out the pits once he serves his drive-through penalty. And that feels like the longest run up the pit lane in the world when you're running for a drive-through penalty like that. He'll be absolutely gutted over that one. But what we're looking for is when he comes out of the pit, he feeds right back onto the racing line. So that's Steeds coming past. So Steeds is cleanly passed. What about Heath? That's what I want to see. I don't think he's going to be getting back on Steeds. Dan O'Brien versus Heathy Keefy Part 2.
Again. And actually, the first 2 of his DTs was with that battle probably between him and Heath, because they were pushing very, very hard.
I think he slotted into plenty of space, in all fairness. So Heath's just that bit too far back. Yeah, I can't even see him in the background there. So Heath not quite able to do anything then, it would look like. Yeah, he's just...
He's there. He's there.
Yeah, he's there. If Dan makes another mistake or something like that, then yeah, could all change again. So we've got Vegas in Performance first and second. We've got Sheba Garage running in third. Fellas Racing in fourth. Boats and Hose Motorsport fifth. Kirky Heath in sixth place then for West Midlands Racing. Danny Price for the other Sheba Garage car tonight. Normally there's another one, but he's not racing tonight because David's away. And Sharman then also West Midlands Racing, like Heath in eighth, and Gillick also West Midlands Racing. So the 9 cars still running out of the 22. 22 they started, but 9 they will finish, it looks like, at the moment. Just getting something in my ear here. Oh no, it's just Race Director cracking open another can of Monster. Needs to calm down. So Dan O'Brien then in the Bentley. I think while this is while we're coming to the closing stages, then as he uses all the track, let's jump onto Stallman and ride on board with our soon-to-be race winner. Touch wood, don't jinx anyone else. You were worried about jinxing Neil. I think you jinxed Dan in the end. Here he is then, riding into the sunlight with D. Stallman after a very, very successful clean race.
Yeah, it's kind of been the dream race for him, really, hasn't it?
He's probably, potentially been a bit bored, if nothing else, because he's just been out the front on his own. With as far as he's concerned, no one else has been around that much. He's had to lap a couple of people, and I think part of that was because he's so quick, but part of it was so much carnage unfolded behind him, and it just allowed him to get away and get that, all-important cushion early on, which, as you said earlier, he just translates that into a massive gap before too long if you let him get away with it.
Yeah.
There was N. Schultz earlier in the race, don't forget, who was right on the back of him within a couple of seconds for the first 10 laps, then got a drive-through penalty. Obviously, Heath was on that pack, then got a drive-through penalty. Dan O'Brien was similar lap times, got a drive-through penalty. So it was very much the way this was going to go, that penalties would play a part, and I think that just goes to show keeping it clean. I mean, he could run a bit wide now and pick one up for all we know on his last couple laps.
Don't say that.
But hopefully not, as the sun comes through on the left. And when you're in VR, that is very, very bright in your eyes. You do actually, in the same way that if when you're driving on the road and the sun gets in your eyes, you have to pull the sunblind down. You don't have a sunblind in one of these. You do have a tinted visor quite often, but when it starts as a dark race, you might not be using that. So that sunrise can be quite annoying. And when you're in VR, it very, very much feels the same. So it's not a championship race as such. So our usual driver of the day vote doesn't count for a point. But whoever is still watching with us, if you have a driver of the day, drop it in chat. Let's see what you think.
I know who I would go for.
Who would you vote for as the driver of the day? I mean, personally, we'll do ours as Dom's finishing off. I think maybe his last lap, it may be one more. It just depends on the clock. I think as much as Kid's done really well, Dom has just done a faultless race.
I was going to go now.
Yeah, and I think that's fair too. I think both are fair. Yeah, he's coming across the line then. D. Stallman gives it a bit of a wiggle. Don't put it in the wall now, Dom. Just keep it nice and straight.
Yeah, a bit close there.
Congratulations. Dom Stallman takes yet another win at our InGear Motorsport. Can anybody come and stop him?
Mega job there by him, and the duo are back together. So our Stallman and Dom finishing in P1 and P2. I think that's a great result for them. I think we need to get on board with Neil, don't we? We need to let him have his moment with this one.
Yeah, so Roland in second, Kid will be in third then if he's not already crossed the line. Let's like Charlotte says, let's see Kid. Watch him come across. Where is he? Is he still racing or is he finished? I mean, that's how much of a lead Dom has. If you look, then the checkered flag means they're finished, which is, if they're a lap down, they will finish a lap down, but those that are still on a lap, will finish it. So Stallman and Kidd coming round still for their final lap of the race. John Kidd has voted for Neil Kidd as driver of the day. Any biasness there? I don't know.
Neil's probably paid him that 50 quid he's going to pay us.
The protest fund.
That's cheap. European racing, it's a grand down.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's nuts.
Yeah. That's when you have to be nasty sponsors.
So, Neil Kidd for Sheba Garage then makes his way towards the finish line at the end of 90 minutes of racing. Kept his nose clean, no penalties for Neil, and he's rewarded with a podium finish. Well done to Neil Kidd. And then soon behind him, after a very bad start on no fault of his own, Steves brings it home in fourth. Again, another great job. O'Brien still hangs on to fifth. It's going to look like as he comes out the last corner, not a million miles behind Steves actually, considering he come out probably further behind.
I think credit where it's due here as well. Dan O'Brien has been seriously fast.
Yeah, he had the pace to be second, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, he did. He had the lap
Easy.
times of second place.
Easy, yeah.
And it was just through that unfortunate turn of events, sort of mid-race, and then that penalty. Ooh. And Dan O'Brien, very much done with that race, crosses the line into the wall.
Oh, I love Paulina so much. She's an absolute ledge. Like, yeah, absolutely, I agree with that one as well. I'm like, literally got my fingers crossed for Danny in the next championship that they run, because he's had the pace, hasn't he? He just keeps getting unlucky.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating, but it's, an us, but it's, imagine he's very frustrated with it all.
Yeah, because he's another one that has the pace. Like I say, on our practice race, Danny Price was running around like the top 5 or so. Like, he followed me for most of the race. I think third and fourth we were for most of it, and it was like Chrissy and one of the Stallmans in front that we were kind of battling with. So yeah, Paul is bang on really. He's done a great job as well. So we'll see if we can grab some guys, as it says, for an interview in a moment's time. You can just see they're finishing off. That's we've got Gillick just crossing the line. So Gillick and Sharman coming in, letting everyone just finish. 45 minutes actually is a long time to be stuck in a VR cockpit. But yeah, we're going to try and interview some of them. So stick around. And actually, if you guys
5 minutes.
90 minutes, 45 laps.
Yeah.
2-minute lap. It always works out perfect double. If you guys watching have any questions that you would like us to ask them, let us know. Paulina, you might be able to trip Danny up, and John, you might be able to trip Neil up. Give us something to ask them. We'll go through and ask that for you in just a sec. And see what I say. I've got my little chat window next to me, so I will glance across at that and see what people put as we go. I always think. So I always think when we get to the end of these, how quickly it actually goes.
Yeah.
There's a tiny period in the middle where I think you're just waiting for pit stops to happen as people spread out, but that wasn't long at all. We had that non-stop action from the first quarter, and then a little bit further back from that. Good race, Kirk Heath. Well done, my son, from Warren Heath. Oh, good stuff. Good to see Warren in
Love
chat.
that. Love seeing people.
Welcome. Yeah, it's nice to see some new names appearing in the chat window. Yeah, Heath again. He's further up the sharp end of the grid this time, which is good after his troubles that he had.
He's fast, isn't he?
He's so quick. Well, he was third on the grid, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's just piecing it together a little bit, isn't it? And that's, I don't know whether you felt like this in the real world and racing, but you do go through phases like that. And it's just snapping yourself out of it and being like, right, okay, I've got the pace, I almost need to maybe take a bit of a step back to actually go 3 steps forward kind of thing. But that's a hard thing to do when you're trying to push for the wins.
And you can get into this mindset of almost waiting for that crash or that moment to happen, because it's happened the last 3 times. So I think that was definitely a step forward for him. He's at the right end of the grid. He's in front of Price, in front of Sharman and Gillick, and still first place West Midlands car as well, which is good. So yeah, good result for him. I think though, driver of the day is a bit mixed between, of course, Dee Stallman done an amazing job, but Kid as well. Kid, we said it towards the end there, kept it really nice and clean.
And he was
precise.
It's not easy to win a race, but it's also easier when you haven't got, when you just drive away from the start, and you have to do all of that right. So you have to qualify, obviously in pole position and get a good start and stuff. But Neil didn't have that easy. He was right in the middle. He was right involved in the carnage, because I was sat in their Discord chat, listening out to see what was going on, and he didn't let it kind of shake him or anything like that. He just kept his head down, and he just got on with the job. And like a fantastic result for him. And especially, because there was a lot of drama. There was a lot that happened on the first 3 laps, wasn't there?
Well, we had that incident with Steez early on, getting spun the wrong way because of the paradox in the Porsche. We had Danny Price getting swiped into by somebody else. Well, he got swiped into, then got hit twice while spinning. I mean, talk about getting beaten up there. Managed to drag the car back to the pits, get it repaired, and still finish the race in a respectable position. So again, great result for Danny. Price, Dan O'Brien had the pace to be second place, but just didn't quite put it together in terms of that drive-through penalty, just cost him and so on. But again, that's
where I feel like Neil played that really well as well, because obviously I'm hearing him in the chat, and he was just waiting for it to happen. He could see what was going on in his mirrors, and and
I always say it. I said it to Sharman and Gillick, which they asked me before last week when we were together and said about it, and I said, just keep your nose clean, don't get penalties and pick up places. And actually, even on their front, Sharman and Gillick both finishing, I think, just inside the top 10. Because everyone else dropped out.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, because they were crashes and stuff, they would have been in the mid-pack. So they've gone from that sort of lower end of the pack where they first started to now mid-pack as well. So everyone's moving forward. I am just keeping an eye on my chat if you see me looking over, so I can see what you're saying. Should go to the win, Kid should get driver of the day. It's kind of one back piece. There's no points, don't forget, for this one, but it's just for fun.
Should we try and get Neil in?
Yeah, let's get Neil in.
Just throw him up, don't give him the choice.
Right, here he comes.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh, you've been dragged up, my friend.
Dragged up to the commentary box.
Yeah. Good job, first of all. Yeah, that was a mega drive. Just, as always, kept your nose clean and didn't get into trouble. How was it for you?
Mate, that was stressful. That was
that's John.
That was the whole gang there. Wow, that was loud.
Does John want my bank details?
Yeah, it was a good race. I just tried to keep consistent laps was the key. Knowing Paul Ricard, a lot of people get DTs. I thought if I can just keep on the track, I'll get some positions. I wasn't expecting third.
Yeah, I think that's. Well, to be fair, you actually did have good pace because I think, what was you on the grid? Was it like 6th, 7th, something like that at the start of the race?
I think it was 7th or 8th.
Yeah, so you moved forward a few places, so you had good pace anyway. But just through keeping it clean, just made all the difference. What was it like those last few laps when Dan O'Brien was just coming back onto your tail?
So Dan was coming back up onto the tail. He was coming back at me, and I knew he was faster, but he also had been fighting Heath, and we were speaking in their box, and I said, right, he's definitely got some track skips because he'd had to get past Heath. And then once he caught up with me, he was like 0.1 second behind me, and I accidentally left this opening, and he didn't take it, and I was like, that's not very Dan O'Brien.
I heard you say that.
Yeah, it was very uncharacteristically not him. So I was like, he must just be about to get drive-through. So I decided if I stick just as close to the racing line as I can, not making mistakes, it made me a bit slower. But then he did eventually get past me. I'm not sure why he skipped that first corner, but the plan was for him to get a DT, and he got a DT. So all worked out.
Yeah, that's nice. You won't have seen, but Don actually offered us £50 to give him a penalty anyway.
Well, I suppose
literally the lap later, he got a drive-through penalty. So
here's your 50 quid.
I'm not sure whether Benny could claim that one, to be fair. Benny's been smashing through cans of Monster the whole race, by the way.
Of course,
yeah,
of course
it's been going wild.
I can hear him sighing away.
2 or 3 cans a day, isn't it?
See, Neil backs me up.
Yeah.
He likes a can of Monster, he's part of the crew. Cool. Any other notable moments from that? Did you see anything from the race start, actually? Because you was right in the middle.
I missed all of that, basically. It actually kind of gave me a jump to get behind Keithy Heathy, whatever his name is, Jeff, and Dan. And then we just walked away from the rest of the pack there when they had that accident, by the looks of things.
Yeah. I mean, at first we thought it was O'Brien, but it looked like a Porsche smashed into him, that then smashed him into Steve's. The kind of domino effect, but luckily that only took out a couple of cars because it could have been everyone. But
that could have been a bad start.
Yeah, but we got away with it. Although only half the grid finished.
Well, did you see that the results shows everybody now though?
Does on the final results.
Yeah.
Still, as we're running, says 9 cars, which is a bit of a shame. But
on the final results, it showed everyone though for us, so we got to see, which was quite good because then Niall saw that he went from basically dirt last up to 4th.
Yeah. Which is good stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I will let you.
Well done.
Yeah, go and cool off some more. I'm sure.
Yeah.
After being in VR for 90 minutes, I might see if I can speak to Dom. Has he been saying much?
I wasn't in a.
He actually wasn't in the Discord the whole time, so I was jumping between the two.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Neil. But yeah, well done. I'll speak to you in a bit.
Okay. Throw me back down, please.
What do we think? Should we see if Dom's around or not?
I think.
Or has he gone? No. Okay. Right. We'll leave that one.
Yeah.
But no, that's fine. We'll wrap things up. There's anything else in chat? Liam's come back on. Epic Race. Liam, I'm loving the commitment on social straight after a 90-minute race.
Yeah, Liam's all over it. Liam's like media trained. This is what it's like in the real world. You literally step out the car, you've got a camera in front of you, which is always, when you've got blonde hair, long blonde hair, it's not the easiest thing, slightly easier for you guys. But fully committed there and great drive by him. I think it's been a really good race.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. And it's nice, I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's nice to be back. We had a little break. It's made us all kind of really get excited for it.
Especially when we're going back out into this lockdown, semi-lockdown thing. So this is how it all started in the first place. So something for people to aim for and
I mean, we've had a couple calls for a weekend race again from a couple of drivers, which is what we were doing originally because, of course, we was all at home all week anyway. So we just thought, well, no one's going out at the weekend. We'll start streaming and doing live races.
Maybe a Sunday evening would be good. Should throw that out there and see what the guys are thinking. Sunday.
Well, and that's the thing in our Discord, and the link, the mentions again below us, and I can see it's been posted back in the chat again to join. Our Discord, the guys do polls and vote on what they want to do each time. So we voted on the next series, we voted on the rule changes. We're going to have ballast in action, so success ballast next time you see us. More work for race director in the background there to add ballast to all the cars based on where they finish. So that should help slow down the likes of D. Stallman when he keeps winning. It should hopefully level it out a little bit to make the faster drivers have a bit of extra weight. And as I say, make the pack a bit closer. So that's just one of the changes. The points will be a bit different. But if you follow us on our socials on InGear Motorsport, across Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn even, we're on TikTok as well. I mean, we're everywhere. Just type InGear Motorsport in and you'll find us somewhere, wherever you want to sign up. And the website ingearmotorsport.com has all of the links as well. So you can do that. You can join the Discord. You can talk to us. And we're still going to be racing in the meantime anyway. Exactly. Well, before I say goodbye, have you got any last closing statements?
No, I'm worn out now, and I wasn't even racing.
I know. That was intense, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, really good to see the GT3s back. I know the GT4s are really fun, but it's good to see the GT3s back, and I think it's good to see everyone maybe a little bit closer than they were in the GT4s as well. So yes,
it was close. Mid-pack was really tight.
So I'm really excited for a few weeks' time when we just get back into it.
Yeah. And as I say, one last time, that means if you're watching and you want to get involved, you've got a few weeks to get in the game, get up to speed, come and race with us when we're doing it for fun a little bit during the weeks, ready for the next live stream.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube.
You was waiting to do that, wasn't you?
Yeah, but make sure you do that. It's helpful.
And thanks as well one last time to everyone who comments. Paulina, John, Phil, Warren jumping in there at the end. Vedden that jumped in as well. All you guys that take the time to come and comment and watch. And that's what makes this worthwhile doing. So thank you very much. Thanks to Ben. Thanks to George. Thanks to Charlotte. And we will see you. Thanks to me. Thank you. And we will see you all very soon. There we go, green lights, and we're off once again.